Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Hey, Good to see you, man. Nice to meet you.
You too, man. Pleasure.
I love your channel, man. It's really great. You're really doing some really interesting videos. When did you get started?
Thanks. Well, I only started the YouTube less than a year ago. So
That's crazy.
It's been a bit of a wild ride.
I don't even know how I found it. It was like one of them YouTube recommends things. It just popped up, and I don't remember which one it was. It was something on ancient history.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, yeah, I started just under a year ago, but no one started watching until like March, and then I think you see me just after that point, and it's been a bit of a big, journey since then, upwards, but it's been very exciting and very happy to be here today. Very excited to be in Austin, and looking forward to talk about some ancient history.
So, did you start off on a traditional academic journey and then sort of get sidetracked into a YouTube career? Like, how did this work?
Yeah, basically. So I studied ancient history at university for 4 years, and I've always been interested in history. I've done history all the way through. Like, I was fascinated about history as a kid, and got to the stage in my life where it was, thinking about going to university. So I thought, I'll do ancient history at university and study there for 4 years, graduated, all of that kind of stuff. But there came a point during my degree where I was kind of, a little bit, I didn't quite agree with the kind of high-level ideas regarding the timeline of history and what we're taught about our ancient past. And it wasn't that I disputed anything that I'd been taught, and I have like great respect for the people that I met at university and my professors, and I don't dispute anything that we were taught actually on the course, but it was more the kind of high level macro perspective of history that I found myself having more and more questions about. And yeah, so
what bothered you? Like, what were the questions?
It was kind of the big questions regarding the origins of civilization and how deep civilization goes and how complex human behavior, I thought went way back further into history than what we were being taught. And I just didn't buy this idea that nothing happened for like vast stretches of time, because it was during my course that they found that modern humans, they made this discovery in Morocco in 2017 or 2018, I think. And that was when I was at university.
Was that Denisovans?
No, Homo
Which one is
sapiens.
that?
So I can't remember this. It's called like the Jebel Irhoud site or something like that. But they were modern Homo sapien remains. They thought they were Neanderthal initially because they were so old.
How old were they?
They're 315,000 years old. That's kind of like the estimate. It goes up to potentially 360,000 years old. So they're super old. And yeah, they thought they were initially Neanderthal because of this age, but then they discovered a few more, and they classified them as Homo sapien. And when I saw that, I was like, how is this not kicking up more of a fuss? Because before them, the oldest Homo sapien remains we had were around 200,000 years old, and that had been the case for like a decade or something. And before that, it was like 100,000 years old. So this discovery pushed back the age of our species by another third, like 100,000 years. So I saw that, and I was thinking, like, how are we still basing our kind of idea of history around the fact that nothing happened for 310,000 years, and then everything happened in like the last 10,000 years since the Neolithic Revolution? I just thought that was odd because we've been in this anatomically modern form for so long, and yet we were being taught that nothing had happened until the last 10,000 years, and that just didn't make sense to me. So that's kind of where I started thinking about it. And then we did this module at university, I remember, called it was called something like Cataclysms or something, and it was all about how in recorded history, natural disaster had a big impact on human societies and stuff like that, and how small, like tiny changes in climate could massively disrupt human civilization and bring them all crashing down. And the case study they used was something called the Late Bronze Age collapse. Have you ever heard of the Late Bronze Age collapse? Yeah, it's when all these like powerful, influential civilizations at the kind of peak of human progress around 1000 BC all simultaneously came crashing down, and no one was quite sure why it was, but the best theory we have is that it's like a kind of combination of climate factors, which led to trade disruption, which led to societal unrest. And then all these empires, like the Hittite Empire, the Assyrian Empire, the palaces of Mycenae in Greece, the Egyptian New Kingdom, all within a 20 to 30, 40-year period, all came crashing down at the exact same time. And I remember being hooked by that. I was like, that's so crazy. Like, we don't even know why this happened, but it was like a half-degree change in climate. And so I remember starting to research how bad climate had been during history and how bad it had been, like these big climatic episodes had been during prehistory. And I started thinking like, wow, if that had caused all these civilizations to collapse, just a tiny half-degree change in climate, which caused drought, which led to those civilizations collapsing. Some of the stuff that had been happening during prehistory was so much worse than that. And that got me thinking, like, how do we know that sophisticated human culture hadn't flourished, 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, 200,000 years ago, and collapsed due to climate change or a natural disaster, volcanoes, comet impacts, anything like that. And that's kind of what set me on the journey. That, along with the discovery of the remains in Morocco, and that really got me thinking about the story we've told regarding our past and how I wasn't quite sure. And yeah, that's kind of what made me initially kind of break away from the traditional timeline that we were being taught.
The term prehistory is weird, isn't it? Because it's like, according to what we find?
Yeah.
How do we know what historical, if there was a great cataclysm, like if the Younger Dryas impact theory is correct, how much history would be written down? What would be left? How would you find it? What would you know?
Yeah.
We're that's one of the things that disturbs me the most is the arrogance that some academics have to having a definitive understanding of the exact timeline of agriculture, civilization, and then modern humans.
Yeah, it annoys me. I feel like academics, as opposed to the alternative historians, are kind of more saying, we don't know, but here's a potential hypothetical scenario that could be possible. Whereas I feel like more mainstream, for want of a better word, I don't really like using that because I don't think there's such thing as a mainstream. It's not like there's a group of people that all collectively decide, but some particularly vocal mainstream kind of historians and scientists seem to claim to know absolute truth about the past, and that's just stupid. Like, how can anyone know about what happened 100,000 years ago or 200,000 years ago? And it kind of gets me a little bit riled up because at the end of the day, none of us know what happened back then. So I think a lot more possibilities are, possible than what many people appreciate. And yeah.
Did you ever see, there was a video documentary back in the day, something about the mysteries of the Sphinx? And there was this archaeologist that was mocking Graham Hancock's ideas and Dr. Robert Schoch's ideas about the timeline, saying, talking about things that existed pre-10,000 years. And he was saying, he was like laughing.
Yeah.
What evidence is there of any civilization from 10,000 years ago? This was literally, I think, around the same time that they discovered Gobekli Tepe.
Yeah.
Like this guy was mocking it. I think slightly thereafter they discovered Gobekli Tepe, which threw everything into a tizzy because now you've got something that was absolutely covered, they believe intentionally, somewhere in the neighborhood of 11,000 years ago.
Yeah, I think Gobekli Tepe is the biggest kind of smoking gun for at least for the idea that civilization is older and more complex than the traditional model suggests, because obviously, as you say, it's like 12,000 years old and it's massive megalithic pillars. I mean, you know about Gobekli Tepe. Probably most people listening to this will know about Gobekli Tepe, but it's such a clear sign that sophisticated human culture was present way earlier than the conventional timeline suggests. And I think that at least should throw a monkey wrench into a lot of these people's ideas regarding human civilization and when it began, because clearly the toolkit for civilization existed 12,000 years ago. So why couldn't it have existed a little bit earlier than that? And why, if it existed then, did it then take another 6,000 years for it to emerge in ancient Sumer, which is the kind of traditional thought to be the earliest civilization? So Gobekli Tepe is fascinating. I love it. It's a really interesting site. I think it will one day be classed as civilization. I'm almost certain that when enough time passes, we'll kind of look at that. And because it's a whole culture, the whole Tashtapela culture, there's like 14 sites at least. And they all have this kind of megalithic architecture. They all have shared symbolism. They all are clearly connected. Like, it's crazy how it's not defined as anything other than hunter-gatherers. And even if you think that hunter-gatherers built Gobekli Tepe, then you need to massively update the definition of what a hunter-gatherer is, because clearly they had surplus. They weren't just building these sites in their spare time. And yeah, it's a truly paradigm-shifting site. But I mean, everyone kind of knows about Gobekli Tepe now.
But not everyone. But also, as spectacular as what they've discovered so far is, they have only unearthed 5% of it, which is even more bizarre.
Yeah.
Because you've got so much stuff that's underground, you have no idea what's on those pillars. There's speculation that one of the pillars from Gobekli Tepe that is unearthed is some sort of a calendar of events. And they believe that it depicts some sort of a disaster. Like that these, how they're making these images to be associated with either an impact or something, but there's a timeline that's inscribed in these pillars.
Yeah, there's like a study that was written or a paper that was written, and they think it's the pillar 43, I think it is kind of like a cosmic calendar, and it's like almost a prediction model of an impact that could happen or already has happened, and it's like a warning for the future. That is still disputed, but there's been good research that's done into that suggests that's what it is, and it's certainly a site that has cosmic alignments and kind of has been built with the stars in mind, which is something that we can say about so many ancient sites around the world, which is another thing that isn't really considered by, quote unquote mainstream archaeology, perhaps as much as it should be. So yeah, it's a fascinating site, and I really think it displays a lot about how human ingenuity and civilization. People get a bit stuck with the word civilization because we have a very narrow definition of what civilization is, and it's basically based on the old model of Mesopotamia, which is ancient Sumer. And because that was the earliest known civilization for so long, we kind of constructed this whole idea about what a civilization is purely based on Mesopotamia. But I don't see why that has to be what civilization is, because that was just one civilization, and just because that was the earliest one we'd found for a long time and still is thought of as such, doesn't mean that that's the only way that humanity can flourish, because humans are so adaptable. We do so many different things, and we're clever in different ways, and we, change to different environments. And I think that definition has really kept a lot of people kind of boxed in when thinking about how sophisticated human culture could flourish in different places, in different environments, and with different pressures. And I think that's kind of forced people to not consider what other possibilities are out there.
I think it's even more fascinating if you consider the fact that ancient Sumer and that part of the world from about 6,000 years ago is where they're sort of hanging their hat, saying that this is the birthplace of civilization. But if you do have this evidence of Gobekli Tepe, and then we are talking about some sort of an ancient civilization that lived 12,000 years ago, like what happened? What happened? Like what was the gap between that and then it took 6,000 years before they started civilization back up again? Sort of a reimagining of civilization, which makes you really, at least makes me really consider the possibility of a cataclysm, because if the people that survived, whatever they would be, they would probably be living off the land. They'd probably be barely getting by and barbaric for a long, long time. And if it really took 6,000 years to kind of like settle down again, that is fascinating to me.
Yeah, and it all ties into this idea that we've had that agriculture leads to civilization, but there's that bizarre thing that, agriculture appears in multiple different places at pretty much the exact same time all over the world. And that's never made sense to me, because if agriculture was such a kind of vital invention for civilization to flourish, then why did no one invent it for, 310,000 years?
Right.
And then in South America, in Mesopotamia, in ancient China, and you could argue there's other different places that, so say there's like South America and there's Central America. You could argue that's potentially connected, but a lot of people say it isn't. So how can agriculture, if it's such an incredible invention, be invented by multiple people at the same time, but no one else thought of it before? It doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense they wouldn't figure out seeds. Yeah. Like how do you not know eventually that these seeds are dropping, and then you see seedlings that are coming out of the ground? Just that seems pretty logical and an easy connection. And then you'd say, oh, well, if we gather these seeds and go plant them over there, maybe we can get some fruit trees over here.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. It worked. Like that seems like you'd figure that out in one lifetime.
I know it's odd. But I think the idea always has been that it's because of the climate, right? Mm-hmm. So because of the Holocene, which began around 12,000 years ago, as we came out of that and we had kind of stable climate conditions that we still live in today, That's what enabled the invention of agriculture, right? But then the question I always ask is, well, what about all the other warm periods that have come in the past? If, as the idea is that, stable climate led to agriculture, then why couldn't such a thing have happened in the Eemian period 120,000 years ago? Or there's been 4 distinct warm periods that have lasted for like over 10,000 years while modern humans have been around, at least. And obviously, these Morocco remains of Homo sapiens, it's unlikely they're the earliest Homo sapiens that ever lived. They're just the earliest we found. So we could be even older than that. So considering we've been through 4 distinct warm periods before the Holocene, and if the argument is that the Holocene was what led to the invention of agriculture due to the stable climate, then why couldn't it have happened in the earlier warm periods? That's a question I've always asked myself and been fascinated by.
And the real problem is there would be very little evidence, if any.
Yeah, so this is the preservation problem, and this is something I talk about in my videos. So I kind of always ask the question, like, what if human culture had flourished in the Eemian, for example, which was from 130 to 115,000 years ago? What realistically would survive? Because it's such a vast length of time that it's really unlikely, at least as far as I can tell. And obviously, I'm not a scientist. I'm not like a materialist. I'm not I'm just a guy. I'm not even a historian technically. But as far as I can tell, it's extremely hard for any materials, but even our modern materials in our huge civilization that, 8 billion people, industrial society, sending rockets to space, all the crazy stuff that we're doing. Even us, if we disappeared tomorrow, I think it would be extremely unlikely that pretty much anything would survive when you get up to these huge timescales of like 100,000 years. And so I've been doing quite a lot of, research into this, and because I obviously don't want to, get things wrong and put falsehoods out there and mislead people. I don't want to look like a dickhead in front of like millions of people or whatever. So I've been trying to debunk myself or play devil's advocate to myself on this point because, that's the best way to make your argument airtight, and no one's really out there debunking me. I don't know if that's because I'm right or because no one knows me. Maybe that would change after a show like this, but I've been really looking into the kind of degradation of modern materials as much as I can and trying to work out how much would survive from a civilization like ours if we disappeared tomorrow in 100,000 years' time. So if you
like someplace like London or Manhattan, what would be left in 100,000 years? Yeah,
of like an actual modern city. And the scary truth is it's almost nothing. Like there are
really,
as far as I can tell, and obviously
cement buildings, they would just deteriorate.
They would go like concrete would crack and you'd get CO2 in there and freeze-thaw weathering, and over these huge timescales of like 5,000 years, 10,000 years, they would just crumble down into dust and be absolutely imperceptible.
Just 10,000 years?
I think so. Obviously I'm just doing this off the top of my head. I haven't got any notes in front of me or anything, but as far as I could tell from my research, it's going to be a few like 10,000 years, 20,000 years max. It's not going to get up to these timescales of 100,000 years.
So if you do add in, if you think about what Manhattan would look like in 100,000 years, it's almost nothing.
I would say it was nothing, to be honest.
Nothing. And it would just get overrun by trees again.
Yeah, because it's just such an incredible amount of time that all these materials that we build with are just going to corrode, and they're going to rust away. If they're metals, they're going to oxidize, they're going to flake until they're just tiny little fragments that just disperse in the sedimentary record, and they're just invisible to see. And same with concrete, same with even things like glass. I've heard a lot of people say that glass would potentially survive because glass is it's a very durable material, and glass would survive a long time, but glass in the form of a human-made recognizable artifact isn't going to survive in that form. It's going to get crushed. It's going to break away into tiny little nano fragments, into silica grains that are just invisible in the kind of archaeological record when you get up to these huge levels of time. And yeah, I mean, I would say almost nothing would survive that long. And again, with the caveat that I'm just some random dude who's investigated this on the internet and researched this myself, not a scientist. If anyone out there is a material scientist, I'd encourage them to reach out to me. But as far as I can tell, there are very few things that could possibly survive that long. I mean, we're pretty crazy fucking apes. Like, we do crazy shit. So things like nuclear weapons, like we test nuclear weapons in the atmosphere. You could argue if we knew when to look and what to look for, we could see traces of plutonium in the atmosphere from our nuclear weapons testing, or you could see our nuclear waste deposits. or things like carved stone, because stone obviously survives a very long time. Human carved stone, you'd be able to find that. But we do find that. We find, stone tools. But just because ancient humans use stone tools doesn't mean they didn't use anything else. It's just stone is the most likely thing to survive. And the crazy thing is, Joe, do you know how many sites we have, Homo sapien sites from more than 100,000 years ago?
How many?
9. We have 9 sites, 9 glimpses, 9 snapshots into over 200,000 years of history, 9 moments in time. And we use that to extrapolate out what every single human was doing.
9 globally.
9 globally, yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Whoop. You probably heard me talk about Whoop before, but if you hadn't, here is the rundown. With Whoop, the goal isn't just to live longer, it's to live better. Well, Whoop sent me their latest tracker, the Whoop 5.0, and I love it. I love all the new features, especially the new battery. It lasts for over 2 weeks on a single charge, so you never miss a beat. But there's one new feature that's really, really exciting. Health Span is a totally new feature on the Whoop app that shows how fast your body is aging and if you skew younger or older than your actual age, helping you slow your aging down so you can keep doing what you love. It pulls from 9 metrics backed by science like sleep consistency, heart rate zones, and VO2 max to give you a personalized Whoop age. Join whoop.com/JRE and get a free trial. That's join.whoop.com/JRE for 1 month free of Whoop. Check it out.
And where are they mostly?
Africa.
And so what do they find? What is the evidence?
It's usually caves, and it's usually just, remains of fire pits and stone tools. And that's kind of it. And so we see that and we think, okay, they just lived in caves and used stone tools.
Right.
But it's 9 sites, 9 moments in time for 200,000 years.
Well, the problem is there's people that essentially live like that right now in some parts of the world, which is really weird, right? Because we always want to think about technology and advancement of civilization being sort of universal, but it's really not. There's people that are living a subsistence lifestyle right now. There's people that are uncontacted right now.
At the same time as Elon Musk sending rockets to Mars and shit, yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the weirdest ones is when you see them get invaded in the Amazon, when you see them contact these people and they're pointing bows and arrows at helicopters.
Yeah.
And, they're naked.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're so adaptable. Humans can do so many different things.
Yeah.
And as you say, right now we're sending rockets to space and people are living in very traditional ways of life. And that just because we find traditional ways of life in, I repeat, 9 sites to cover 200,000 years. In my view, that's just what we can see. That's just that kind of points to my point regarding what would possibly survive. Because if you think of all the human lives, stories, cultures that have potentially existed for our whole species' existence, if we only have 9 little glimpses from, and to be fair, that 9 is, you could say it's up to 15 because some sites are debated. But either way, it's a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of human signs of human life. Just because in that fragment, in that snapshot, in that slither, all we see is some humans with stone tools in caves, doesn't mean that nothing else was happening. So,
well, a good piece of evidence to that would point in that direction is Egypt. Because Egypt, even if you accept the conventional timeline of Egypt, which is 2,500 BC for the Great Pyramid, go look at the rest of the world at 2,500 BC. You don't see anything like that. Nothing even close.
Yeah, they were clearly, even if you kind of look at the conventional model of history, the ancient Egyptians were wildly ahead of everyone else.
Everyone.
It's just so weird. It's
so weird.
And that's and the conventional model doesn't really give us any explanations of how they were doing what they were
doing.
doing.
And they arrogantly dismiss any other explanations, which is really weird. When you're talking about these immense structures that are baffling.
Yeah.
Absolutely baffling to anybody who's being honest.
Yeah.
What is your take on these Italian researchers that are looking at the tomography and they're looking at these things that they believe are underneath the Great Pyramid and some other structures in Egypt?
Yeah, the kind what's it called, like SARS Toppler. I mean, I don't know. I'm always a little bit suspicious when you make sensationalist claims with new technology, and that doesn't mean it's wrong. That just kind of
you have to be suspicious because it's bonkers.
It's crazy.
I mean, if what they're saying is 2 kilometers deep underneath the Great Pyramid, there's structures, and there's hundreds of meters of these pylons, these pillars that are in uniform positions with some sort of a coil wrapped around them.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? What is that real? And they reproduce it in multiple different scans, but I don't know what they're seeing. I don't understand the technology, understand where the errors could be, like what could possibly cause it to glitch like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would love it to be true, obviously, because,
I would love it.
Can you imagine?
That's the problem. The problem is the same problem that I have with UFOs and everything else.
You want it to be true.
100%. So it really clouds my judgment. And then I have to get my, analytical mind to say, shut up.
Yeah.
Let's look at this honestly.
But I mean, I think, there's definitely something below the Giza Plateau. Like, that's always been written about in ancient sources, and these kind of scans, and then people you have stories of people going down into labyrinths that aren't, accepted by Egyptology, and there's definitely massive mysteries surrounding Giza and the construction of the pyramids and what could potentially be below the pyramids. And this kind of new pyramid scan project has the potential, I think, to, make big progress in understanding what is below Giza. But I don't know, until there's better data out there, I'm not going to, jump to any conclusions and declare that this is like evidence of, a lost advanced technology, civilization, or anything
No,
like that.
you can't. But I am so excited about just the possibility that they're right. Because if they are right, that's the greatest monkey wrench into history that's ever existed. Because explain away that.
Yeah.
With ancient people with stone tools or copper. Like, explain that away.
They'd probably try, mate, because it already doesn't make sense. Their explanation for the construction of the pyramids being wooden sledges and stone chisels or whatever they say, it already doesn't make sense. It's already so ridiculous that I wouldn't even be surprised if they tried to explain away these.
It'll discredit them, because the problem is, if it does indicate that the pyramid is something other than a tomb,
there's not. I don't even see any evidence that the Great Pyramid at Giza. I mean, what's the evidence that was a tomb? I mean, I don't think they've ever found a body in there.
No.
It's just a chamber which they've called the King's Chamber.
Right.
I mean, I'm not an expert in ancient Egypt by any respect, but it's always baffled me that they're so determined that the pyramids are tombs just because some later pyramids have had, mummies and pharaohs and sarcophagi found inside them. But
that doesn't mean anything, and that doesn't mean that they built it. That also could mean that the pharaoh decided that it was his and wanted to be buried inside of it, and it had existed for thousands of years before they ever even got there.
And you find bodies in buildings today, and that doesn't mean the purpose of that building was to be a tomb.
Right.
It's just someone's buried there, so someone, as you say,
it's a weird assumption. It's a very weird assumption. And did you ever read any Christopher
Dunn, yeah.
Christopher Dunn's work. Yes.
I know a bit. I haven't read his book, but I know a bit about it. And it's interesting. I mean, he's like a serious guy, isn't he? He's like
an engineer.
Exactly. And he has quite serious theories that...
He thinks it's a power plant.
Yeah, which would be crazy, wouldn't it?
Especially if you add into that the Graham Hancock's ideas and some of these other people's ideas that perhaps some of these structures are far older.
Well, kind of Orion correlation and the Sphinx...
Also, the fact that the deeper you go into the sand, the more sophisticated the building techniques are.
Yeah.
That gets weird. Like, larger stones. Like, what happened?
The whole of, ancient Egypt and the Sahara Desert in general just doesn't make sense to me, because when you look at the Sahara Desert and the fact that it was green for 9,000 years, and then it stopped being green at precisely the time that we're told ancient Egypt emerged, well, that doesn't make sense. That defies how civilization works. Why would a civilization only emerge after the climate got worse?
Right.
That doesn't make sense at all.
And so little research done in sub-Saharan Africa, where they've actually gone into the ground and done large-scale research of these immense areas.
Nothing. The Sahara Desert is vast and obviously covered in sand and extremely hot, extremely difficult to survey, politically unstable, and there's basically been no archaeological work done across the whole. And the Sahara Desert is massive. It's like the whole of North Africa, right down to.
Right.
It's massive, and
you could fit the United States in there.
You could fit anything in there, like a whole. Preceding civilization for 9,000 years leading up to ancient Egypt. It's the perfect place. It's right by Mesopotamia. It's right by Egypt. And yet we have this blank spot for the 9,000 years before the development of civilization, which is kind of also the gap between I mean, it's a little bit less than this, but the gap between Gobekli Tepe and the birth of civilization, we have this huge area which would have been perfect for civilization, full of rivers, lakes, grasslands, perfect climate, and it's just missing.
Also, abundant resources where they could establish a stable civilization because they had so much food and they weren't being attacked, so they could kind of set up shop and figure some things out.
Yeah.
Over a long period of time.
Yeah. So my theory is that things were happening in the Sahara Desert when it was green, in the Green Sahara, for those 9,000 years. And then, because it was really quick, that's what I don't think people realize, is that when the Sahara Desert turned from, green, lush paradise, whatever you want to call it, to a desert, it was like a few centuries. It's called rapid desertification, and it flipped, not overnight, obviously, but in a few centuries compared to 9,000 years is a rapid change. And for any kind of culture that was living there, you wouldn't have noticed it straight away, but in 50 years, you'd be like, fuck, it's getting a bit hot here. You know what I mean? Like, shit is going on. And then I think maybe people migrated to the last stretch of green that was still available to them, which was the Nile River. And then the kind of survivors or the migratory populations developed around the Nile River, and using the kind of experience and knowledge that they had from their lives and the kind of history of their cultures in the Green Sahara period, that is what led to ancient Egypt. I mean, that's just
it's theory, also just an assumption that ancient Egypt didn't exist alongside that, or even previous to that, which is also possible, especially when you consider what Robert Schoch thinks about the erosion, the water erosion in the Temple of the Sphinx.
Yeah, the kind of explanation away of that also never made sense to me, that it's wind and sand, because when you see pictures of the Sphinx, even from when they kind of found it in Napoleonic times, it's buried in sand.
Right.
And there's records from the Egyptians themselves who, excavated it effectively because it was covered in sand. So if it quickly gets covered in sand, how could it be eroded by wind and sand if it doesn't take very long for it to, kind of get filled up with sand? Then how does wind and sand erosion even count? I've never seen anyone kind of explain that away.
Well, it's the walls that are the most fascinating to me, because the deep fissures that clearly look like rainfall. It looks like something that water does over thousands of years.
Yeah.
And when
There's those whales that were the Valley of the Whales. It's just about, I don't know how many miles south, but it's south of Cairo.
That's bonkers too.
Yeah.
That's crazy. They find whales. Hundreds of whales in the desert. That's so great. Look at that image. That's so nuts. That is so nuts.
Some of them had teeth and toes.
So crazy. So crazy. And then it makes you wonder, like, how did those bones survive? Like, why are they there? Like, how quickly did they die? How quickly did they get covered up by sediment that they could find them all these years later? Because that's the weird thing about fossils and bones in general, is that most of them you're never going to find because they get eaten, they deteriorate, they're gone. Like, it's very difficult to make a fossil. When you think about our, quote unquote fossil record, it's really weird because it's hard to make a fossil. Yeah. So we're dealing with a very small amount of beings that get turned into a fossil. And that is what we're using as our understanding of, like, life.
Yeah, yeah.
It's weird.
It is weird.
Because it's so limited.
I'm not sure do you know when the Sahara was covered in water? I'm not even sure when that was. I mean, some people say that there's like a mass flood during the kind of Younger Dryas period, which I think is...
I think they're talking about millions of years ago for these bones.
Yeah.
How old are these whale bones supposed to be? But I think millions of years ago, it's assumed that it was completely underwater, right? So are we talking like Pangea times? Like, what are we talking about?
I don't know. But even... not too long ago, like, kind of 12,000 years ago, whatever, they had these massive river systems, like the Tamanrasset River system.
Here it is.
40 million years old.
Yeah.
40 million years old?
But I don't know about the whales.
Oh, my God.
Primitive whales.
Primitive whales documenting, how do you say that word? Cetacean? How do you say that word? Cetacean transition? Is that how you say it?
I don't know.
Cetacean transition to marine life, saurians and reptiles, as well as shark teeth from the Genaham Formation 40 to 41 million years ago. The strata in, I don't say that either, Wad al-Hitan belongs to Middle Eocene epoch, and it contains extensive vertebrate fossils within a 200-kilometer area.
Fossils are present in high numbers and often show excellent quality of preservation. The most conspicuous fossils are skeletons and bones of whales and sea cows.
What's a sea cow?
I don't know, man.
What's a manatee?
You ever see the precursor to whales, like where whales came from?
No, where did they come from?
It was an ancient animal that was like almost like a hooved wolf.
What, sea animal?
No,
Oh, you mean,
it was
so they
a
were
land animal. That's why they breathe air.
Oh, of course, they're mammals, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's super weird. It's super weird. It was some animal that supposedly lived on land and is real freaky looking, almost kind of like dog-like.
Yeah.
And that thing eventually
Became a
said,
whale.
I just like swimming.
I'm going to go back
And
into
then
the
one
sea.
day it said, I'm never going back to the land. It's filled with assholes. I'm just going to live out here in the ocean where all you have to contend with is sharks.
This article calls it the god of death whale.
Wow, that's what it looked like. That's what it looked like.
That's pretty terrifying.
But there's some images of it on land, some depictions. Yeah, that's what it looked like. That freaky thing was what whales came from. That thing walked around the ground and then eventually said,
If it's 40 million years ago, is that what those skeletons are then? Maybe.
Interesting. Some of them maybe, right? Because they do know that thing. It was when whales walked in Egypt. Wow. I was watching, I don't remember whose podcast it was. I wish I could remember. But they were talking to some guy that found definitive evidence of dinosaurs in Egypt. So if you go back far enough, there were dinosaurs living in that part of the world as well. What's that one image you just saw right there with the mouth open? Yeah, that one. That's crazy looking. Prehistoric whale ancestor. Look at that thing. Whoa. That's crazy.
Here's the sea cows.
What?
This image says a prehistoric sea cow was killed by a prehistoric croc,
Wow.
then eaten by a tiger shark. But I don't know.
Boy. Life is hard where there's
they
no
do that.
doors. That's the problem with the ocean. There's no doors. There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, you
So
get
it's
fucked
just
up.
constant chaos. It is just constant things eating things in this 3D space where they can go up and down and side to side. And
That's just nature, isn't it, man?
It
Everyone's
is.
just killing everything else. And
yes. This episode is brought to you by Uber Eats. Summer is here, and you can now get almost anything you need for your sunny days delivered with Uber Eats. What do I mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get chicken parmesan delivered. A day in the sun? No. A bottle of rum? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. For almost anything delivered with Uber Eats, order now. For alcohol, you must be legal drinking age. Please enjoy responsibly. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
we made it.
But we figured out doors.
We did.
We figured out walls and doors, and that changed the game.
But when did we do that, Joe? That's the question.
That is the
Because
question.
a lot of people would claim to think, and the kind of consensus always is, that we didn't do that until 12,000 years ago. We didn't settle down and form permanent communities until the Neolithic Revolution. And I think that's one of the major paradigms, if you like, that we have regarding our past that simply doesn't make sense in light of new evidence. And
What is that evidence that they found of wood construction from far longer than they thought?
yeah, this is the Colombo structure. And this
Yes.
is something I talk about a lot in my videos because I think it's a crazy find and I don't understand why it's not kicking up more of a fuss. Like, if I'm the guy that has to kick up the fuss about it, then I'll be that guy because basically the idea has always been that humans were nomadic hunter-gatherers that moved with the seasons and lived in caves or just kind of walked around for all of our history until the Neolithic Revolution, the invention of agriculture 12,000 years ago. And no earlier than that did we ever settle down and live in permanent settlements. But the Colombo structure was something they found a few years ago in modern-day Zambia. And what it is these pieces of wood, and I'll get to the point about why this wood has survived in a minute, because obviously, wood surviving this long is crazy. But there you go. Yeah, so the Colombo structure is these pieces of wood that have been joined together deliberately, cut in notches and connected together, tapered and secured at right angles. And they think it was either a kind of raised walkway, like a kind of raised platform, or a house, a dwelling, a hut, some kind of structure. And why this is so paradigm shifting is because not only does this kind of scream that humans potentially lived in permanent settlement. Sorry, I haven't even said this. This is 476,000 years old. So this predates Homo sapiens. So
Allegedly.
allegedly, as in, what do you mean allegedly? Oh,
because we
exactly.
recently found out that they lived 300,000 years
I guess, it could have been us. But what they attribute it to is Homo heidelbergensis, who's our last common ancestor with Neanderthals. So they're kind of the human species that came before Homo sapiens. So I guess you're right. It could have been Homo sapiens, and we're just not sure how old we are. But it's
look at that.
It's kind of attributed to Homo heidelbergensis. And the only reason this structure survived at all is because pretty soon after its construction, it must have fallen into a bog. And then that bog kind of got solidified over by the sun. And then it was preserved in waterlogged sediment, which protected it from decay for almost 500,000 years until it was discovered by us recently. And
how recent?
I think about 5 years ago, maybe. Was it 2019 or something? I'm not 100% sure. But it's crazy. It's lasted so long.
Another monkey wrench.
Yeah, I would say it's a massive monkey wrench, because not only does it kind of really dispute this idea that we didn't settle down until 12,000 years ago with the Neolithic Revolution. Because, it's a structure. And it's just because it's so unlikely, it's so unbelievable that this would have survived. But that kind of suggests that it's not the only one.
Right.
There could have been loads of these, structures everywhere. And
but as you said, Manhattan wouldn't exist in 100,000 years. So this is 476,000 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And it's just wood, which is less durable than all the other things that we were talking about.
Yeah, and obviously people may be saying, well, look, clearly things survive. But this is an extreme edge case scenario where it's like so unbelievably unlikely that this wooden structure would kind of sink into a bog, and then that bog be, solidified over, and then it would stay in that preserved.
Then that they would find it.
And then they would find it, exactly, because, what
you
are the
have
chances?
to go 476,000 years into the sediment.
Yeah, exactly, because we don't dig that far and look for anything sophisticated, because we think, nothing happened back then. And then you find this, and it really suggests that humans were living in much more complex societies, and the fact that they had the cognitive capacity to plan, structurally engineer, and build a structure completely flies in the face of what we've always thought about ancient humans. Because we've always had this idea that there's been this very popular idea in kind of mainstream historical thought that humans only got smart around 50 to 60,000 years ago. And that's just Homo sapiens. We've always thought that other human species never got smart, never achieved what we call behavioral modernity. And this has always been the kind of idea that we went through this cognitive revolution around 50 to 60,000 years ago. And the most obvious proponent of how entrenched this is in kind of academic thought is, have you ever read the book Sapiens?
Yes.
Yeah, by Yuval Noah Harari. It's an extremely popular book. It sold something like 60 million copies worldwide. By far the most popular book about prehistory and, the story of Homo sapiens ever written. And Sapiens didn't kind of do anything new. It didn't. I think Harari himself would admit this. It didn't. It kind of just collected the consensus of academia and presented it in a nice, digestible way to the kind of layman audience. But he took this idea that's always been present in academia regarding human intelligence, which is that while we've been around for quite a long time, we didn't achieve behavioral modernity until 50 to 60,000 years ago. And that's when we started apparently displaying complex cognitive traits like abstract thinking and planning and burying our dead. And art, yeah, exactly, and complex language and things like that. But this just completely flies in the face of that, because if we had the capability to plan, construct, and engineer a structure 476,000 years ago, that means mainstream anthropology was off by over 400,000 years regarding the advent of intelligence and the advent of permanent living. And that's quite the error. 400,000 years. Exactly. So that kind of suggests they could be off by similar margins about other developmental claims, because, I don't know, that's a big, big error.
Well, it's also, when you think about the history of the Earth, there are times that we know that there's great bottlenecks that occurred because of some sort of a massive natural catastrophe, like the Toba volcano.
Yeah.
Right, the Toba volcano, which was 70,000 years ago? Was that what it was?
Something like that, yeah.
Brought people down to a few thousand survivors on Earth.
Yeah, and there's loads of these bottlenecks.
Yes.
And you look at our kind of genetic history, and that suggests that something happened.
Right. Well, you're thinking about what evidence there is, and then you think about, there's no one left except a few thousand people 70,000 years ago. So it's possible that there's been this rise of some sort of a civilization and then massive catastrophe and a rebuilding. Just like if we're talking about the Younger Dryas, which is in this time period we're talking about, when you're dealing with 476,000 years ago, fairly recent, right?
Very recent.
Right.
Yeah.
And think about the 6,000 years it took for civilization to reemerge from that. Now you think of Toba, and you knock down the entire population of the planet to, what did they think it was? See if you can find out what the number was. I think it was very low. I think it was below 3,000 people on Earth.
Yeah.
On Earth.
Yeah, just from one natural
3,000
disaster.
people. One massive super volcano, which is, by the way, just like Yellowstone.
Yeah. There's lots. It could all happen again.
That motherfucker is bubbling, too. Here it is. Potentially, almost all of humanity, leaving around 3,000 to 10,000 humans left on the planet.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And supervolcano isn't the only thing. There's so many others.
What time period is this, Jamie? 74,000 years ago.
So that's quite recent.
Yeah.
In terms of our story.
Well, in terms of your theory that I thought was one of the most interesting ones that you brought up, that in your videos, you were talking about how anatomical humans, just based on what we've agreed to, based on what we found 300,000 years, like what are the possibilities that there have been civilizations that emerged and were destroyed, and then there's no evidence of them?
Yeah, because aside from the preservation problem, which we kind of already talked about, when you get up to these massive timescales, very little is going to survive, especially when you think about what early humans were likely building with.
Yes.
Like, it's probably the things they could find in their environment, like
Right.
wood, hide,
Right.
plant remains.
You'd have
reeds.
nothing left.
Nothing.
Just look at what we know about the Amazon now.
Yeah.
Because of LiDAR and because of, what is his name? Percy Fawcett. Because these people that made these journeys down there looking for these complex civilizations that at one point in time, now we know did exist there.
Yeah.
And just 100 years later, they called those people liars because they went back to the same place and there was nothing left.
Yeah. And so that's always been, thought of as myth or pseudoscience, that it's kind of the most popular idea of lost civilizations was civilizations of the Amazon, and it was always dismissed. But
Well, here's what's really crazy. Have you seen Detroit? Have you seen the evidence
Yeah.
of Detroit
Or-
where trees are going through houses?
And that's like 50 years, less.
Yes,
Or if you look
less.
at Chernobyl, the kind of exclusion zone where no one lives, it's already like trees everywhere, and like nature is already taking root after less than half a century.
Yeah, bizarre.
And then 100,000 years. Like,
Right.
seriously, what's going to be left?
Very, very little. And then if you go 200,000 years, I mean, if anatomically modern humans, we've discovered them at 300,000 years, what if somebody digs one up that's 2 million years old? Then what do you do? then you got to go, oh boy.
Well,
And then there's also this thought that Neanderthals were stupid. They're kind of abandoning that now too. They're thinking they had language, they had tools, they had society.
They definitely did. There's so much evidence, and this kind of puts into the cognitive revolution argument, which is, that we were the only smart species. Like, our name that we gave ourselves, Homo sapiens, literally means smart man. It's always been the idea that we're the smartest humans, and that's why we won. And to be fair, we did win.
We did win.
Win, whatever you want to
But
call it.
we might just be the most evil.
Yeah, we might be the most evil, or we just might be the luckiest ones,
Well, we're the weakest, so we probably had to be evil.
It's true.
We had to figure out weapons that would be able to defeat the Neanderthals, who had, by the way, larger brain capacities.
I think
than
they were
Homo
just as
sapiens.
intelligent as us, to be honest.
That's nuts.
Well, I mean, that's a claim that probably some people would dispute, but I think there's lots of evidence that they were very smart. And
Well, necessity is the mother of invention, right? And if you're physically weaker than these other things that are as intelligent as you and far stronger,
yeah.
like you gotta get devious. You gotta figure some stuff out.
But like, did we even? I mean, maybe they got wiped out by something like disease, or did they even get wiped out? Because if you even look at the DNA of non-African humans, it's something like 20% in some populations is Neanderthal. So
Yes.
they're kind of still here.
Well, they just sort of interbred.
Yeah.
Which is also weird because most species can't breed with other species.
Yeah.
Just,
But we're very closely related to Neanderthals.
Yeah. It's weird. The whole history of humans is weird. And for academics to deny this possibility, to me, seems so short-sighted.
I know. It
and
will change.
Silly.
I think we're on the brink of quite a massive shift in our perspective regarding prehistory.
I think so too, and I think it has to happen where, I don't mean to say this to be cruel, but the old people have to die.
There's that quote, isn't it? Science advances one funeral at a time.
Yeah,
I hope it doesn't take that long, though. To be honest, Joe, I hope it's just in the next few years.
Well, the good thing is a lot of scientists don't take care of themselves, so. Which is also weird when you see super intelligent people that are obese and eat terrible food.
Or health experts that are such.
Yes, air quote health experts, not real ones. But it is, to me, a great disservice. And one of the things that I find very promising is that a lot of young academics are embracing a lot of alternative ideas, whether quietly or whether they're doing it publicly.
Yeah, well, I think the advent of the internet and, you know, shows like this, or the medium of podcasting, has really kind of democratized the access to information and allowed people with theories that potentially wouldn't have been able to get out there in the pre-internet age, where they were kind of, you had to go through a kind of academic institution to get a theory heard or debated. Now anyone can say anything, for better or worse, and that can, you know, reach millions of people. And then if it's an idea that's popular, then it can kind of be in the public eye, and then it can be debated properly. And I think that's only a good thing. Obviously, there are negative aspects to that, but I think that will increase, you know, ideas regarding prehistory, for example. I think it will increase the rate in which these things will get accepted, because once the evidence is out there, and once you start, you know, talking about the Colombo structure, for example, and how it completely flies in the face of both these paradigms regarding permanent living and human intelligence, it's out there now. People can look it up, and people can see that this is completely kind of opposed to what we've always been taught regarding prehistory.
And isn't it kind of arrogant to assume that they know who built it too? That's weird too, because they're basing it on this assumption that human beings didn't exist back then. At least Homo sapiens didn't exist back then, which is also being challenged over and over and over again.
Yeah, the fact they base it on Heidelbergensis is literally just because we found some Heidelbergensis remains like 200 kilometers away. And they're like, oh, okay, well, it's Heidelbergensis. I mean, it could have been, to be fair, but...
It could have been. But I mean, right now, there's people that are living in Africa, and 200 kilometers away from them are apes.
Yeah.
So if one day they found structures, you know, in the future, said, oh, these are made by chimpanzees.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, that's the thing about history, is it's all based on massive assumptions. It's not like a hard science. It's interpreting evidence, and that's fine. Like, that's how we do it. But
sure,
that's why I don't
It's the only way to do it right now.
Exactly. It's the only way to do it. So that's why I don't get why people make these definitive conclusions and then don't allow anybody to kind of speculate or hypothesize about anything else.
It's gatekeeping.
Yeah.
It's gatekeeping. It's academic gatekeeping. It's also these people that have been teaching this one thing forever being threatened by the fact they were wrong. The last thing an academic wants to hear is like, you wrote this book, this stupid book. This book misled people for decades. You were so wrong. Like, they will fight it with every ounce of their being, because it's essentially their identity. Their identity is being the gatekeeper of their understanding of human history.
Yeah, and they've built a whole career around it, and they've, you know, as you say, it's their identity. They've been the keeper of knowledge on a particular subject. And then,
but it's gross, because it's ours. It's the whole planet. Yeah. It's all the human beings. It's like, do you have a few nerds who you wouldn't want to hang out with in real life? And these are the guys that are telling us we can't explore these things? And those are the people that are attacking Graham Hancock with every possible insult, calling it the most dangerous show on television. Like this, but it's also it's so revealing, because it's so obvious that if you watch the show, you're like, wait, this is the most dangerous show on TV?
Ancient Apocalypse.
Yeah, like, how is that dangerous? He's like just talking about these bizarre structures that exist that seem to defy our modern understanding of how things are built.
Yeah, and when I mean, I don't agree with absolutely everything Graham Hancock says, but when I look at, you know, these ideas of, you know, human intelligence potentially stretching back 500,000 years, as displayed by the Colombo structure, or permanent living, and I would argue that it could go back a lot further than that. So when you kind of take into account that these abilities could have stretched back 500,000 years, when I then look at someone like Graham's work, it seems so plausible. I don't see why it's seen as so outrageous that, because 12,000 years ago, which is kind of when he proposes there could have been a sophisticated civilization that was potentially wiped out by a cataclysm. when you look at that from the perspective of, oh yeah, we've been intelligent for 500,000 years, it seems very plausible to me.
Not only that, it's 450,000 years after the first structure now.
Yeah. But no one's talking about this.
That's what's weird, is that no one's talking about that.
It's just me.
As
far as I can tell.
You. It's like those academics as well that found it.
To be fair, the guy that found it, the archaeologist that found it, said that he never could have imagined that pre-Homo sapien, and again, it may not be pre-Homo sapien, it could be Homo sapien, but he said it's completely paradigm shifting that they had the capacity to plan and build something like this. But again, there's no fuss about it. It's just a paper was written and it was put out there, and then that's it.
Well, these things take time.
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, more of these conversations and more people have to understand that these things are being discovered and that we are kind of confused about so many things about human history. And we're being told that, no, there's people at the universities that have all the answers and that it's literally not possible that they're telling the truth. It's not possible. And that's why I get so excited about the structures under the pyramid, because it's a gigantic fuck you
Yeah,
to all those people.
It would be, yeah.
It would be the most gigantic fuck you of all time if they found out that those scans are accurate and there's these pillars that are wrapped in coils that go down like hundreds of meters, and then below them there's additional structures and the whole.
And they think it's all connected as well.
Yes. Which is like, if Christopher Dunn is correct about it being some sort of a power plant and that reveals like how the thing worked and functioned, that's way more advanced than us. Like, what is that?
In some ways, they already are. I mean, we can't explain how they did it, even based on the kind of conventional model of history.
I know, and we lie.
Yeah.
I've talked to so many people. Like when I had Zawi Hawass here, and he was explaining to me.
National project.
It was the national project. They're like, oh, that'll fix it. We should make our national project to breathe underwater and fly through the air. Like, we should make that our national project, to go to go to other planets and live there in case Earth gets blown up. What are you talking about, man? What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, they just don't want it. And it does kind of make me worry. Like, I don't really delve into the kind of conspiracy side of things because, I mean, I try to stay kind of based in...
Not me. I go right in.
I mean,
face first.
I do it in my own time and stuff. I mean, in my own head and stuff. But in terms of like my videos...
What one do you dive into in your own head the most?
I sometimes combine the UFO one with the ancient civilization one.
I do too.
And I think what happens if, a civilization from 1 million years ago got so advanced that we can't see them, and then that's what the UFO thing is. It's just someone from this Earth that doesn't really need the space anymore, and they're just watching us.
Yeah.
Sometimes think about that. But obviously I don't talk about that in my videos because I don't need to give anyone any more ammunition to send for me.
Well, there's also the genetic engineering one.
Oh, you mean like the...
why humans are so different than everything else in the first place. Like, that's weird. The doubling of the human brain size over a period of 2 million years is really weird.
What does that refer to? Is that from habilis to erectus? What is that?
I don't know. Let's Google it.
Because I've heard people say that, and I've always thought, I guess that must be from Homo habilis to Homo erectus from just over 1 million years ago.
An immense leap that is, like Terence McKenna used to say, it would be bizarre if it was a liver of an otter that doubled over a period of that amount of time. But the fact that it's the very organ that allows us to contemplate and to understand human existence in the first place, and that organ doubled over a period of 2 million years, like, what happened?
Yeah. And
he's got the wackiest theory because he thinks it's psilocybin mushrooms.
I think there could be something to that. I mean, because, ancient cultures have always used psychedelic substances, and basically all the way up until Western society kind of took hold. It's always been an integral part of human culture and human society. And then us in our modern world have decided to outlaw that. And I think that's a tragic mistake, to be honest with you.
It is. And I think history will reveal that.
Yeah.
One day. And I think that is one of the also one of the good things about discussions that are happening on the internet that are kind of unchecked and untethered by academia, so you can talk about these things. Bigger brains.
Smithsonian website says it's actually tripled over the time we've tracked it.
Wow.
Slow increase from 6 to 2 million, but a larger increase 800 to 200,000 years ago.
Wow.
And then the article goes.
That's when the aliens landed.
Yeah. So I don't even buy that though, because Heidelbergensis have the same cranial capacity as us, and they go back 900,000 years. So.
Another thing I saw before.
But maybe that's Erectus they're talking about.
Brains don't fossilize; they deteriorate, leaving a cavity
inside the brain
so
case.
That's part of how they know some of this info.
Sometimes sediments fill the cavity. Harmony and natural endocasts. Scientists also make artificial endocasts to study like the ones above. Fascinating.
Yeah, we're a weird creature.
Well, did you say it's 2017 that they discovered modern humans 300,000 years ago?
I think so, yeah.
And where was that?
It's in Morocco.
And so that's Morocco, right? You said that. So imagine if they found something similar in China.
Well, that would fuck everything up, because the out of Africa thing, and that would really fuck everything up. But it could happen.
Well, it wouldn't really even fuck it up. It would just push it back.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not even supposed to have left Africa until this time of the cognitive revolution, and that's always been one of the points. Like, oh look, we got smart, we left Africa 60,000 years ago. But that's never made sense to me either, because Homo erectus managed to migrate out of Africa and colonize loads of Asia and parts of Europe over 1 million years ago. And if they're supposedly, inferior to us, then how can they make this massive leap? And Heidelbergensis did it 600,000 years ago. And if they're supposedly inferior to us, how come they did this? And so, I don't know. I try not to delve into the out of Africa thing, because it gets a little bit controversial sometimes.
It does. Well, it gets controversial when you bring in aliens too, because aliens become racist.
Yeah.
It becomes racist because now you're not accrediting the Africans to building the pyramids. Which is really
That's never made sense to me, because it clearly wasn't white people that built the pyramids.
Well, I watched this very bizarre discussion between some guy that was trying to claim that it wasn't Africans that built the pyramid, that it was white people that built the pyramids. So there are people that have this sort of racist idea of the construction of the pyramids, but you can't attach that to everyone who's speculating about the construction, because the things are too weird. It's too weird. And let's assume that it was Africans that built the pyramids. But if we are assuming that, like, how were they so much smarter than everyone alive today?
Yeah.
How were they so much smarter? Let's say it's 4,500 years ago. How were they so much smarter? What was going on? Like, what happened? Did they get visited by aliens? Did they discover something that allowed their understanding of physics to be just so much greater than everybody else who's ever lived? Like, what did they discover? Like, what were they encountering? What were they consuming? What were they doing? What were they teaching each other? Where, we lost so much in the burning of the Library of Alexandria, right?
Yeah, it's quite sad, really, isn't it? To be honest, like, there would have been a lot in. I'm not sure 100% what happened with that. I'm not sure if it was one burning or
there's several burnings. Yeah,
but clearly a lot was lost.
But then the question is, like, what did they even know? Like, what if it's older than that? Like, what if all that stuff? What if this is one of the things that Zawi Hawass was very reluctant to. He's like, what is this? I was talking about the King's List that goes back 30,000 years.
Yeah.
What if that's accurate?
Yeah, it's the Sumerian one does too.
Yeah. It gets real squirrely when you only want to accept some parts of history.
And that ties into the Green Sahara thing that I was talking about. Like, they have king lists that go back this far, and we say that some of them are myth. And to be fair, they have kings that reigned for like 1,000 years, which is a bit weird.
It's a bit weird.
Probably not. I mean, unless you're talking some kind of alien thing, then that probably wasn't human. But that might just be because it would have been a long time ago for them too, when they were writing these king lists.
Sure.
But it doesn't mean that their civilization only started with the first dynasty. What we've decided is the line between myth and fact, because that's a modern interpretation after the fact. They never made such distinction.
Yeah, and this idea that they lived 1,000 years. Well, have you ever read the North Korea depictions of Kim Jong-un's first day playing golf?
Yeah, it's propaganda. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, he made like 9 holes in one. He was the greatest golfer of all time.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're writing about kings. He lived 1,000 years. Fire came from his dick. Like what are we talking about? We don't know. We don't know what they were writing. We don't know who wrote it. We don't know how fantastical it was, how much hyperbole was involved. But we do know that we accept the King's List when it gets to around 2,500 BC. We start accepting it.
Yeah.
But you don't accept this possibility that it might actually go far, far, far earlier than that.
And the pyramids thing kind of plays into the fact that stone is one of the only thing that survives. And pyramids are these massive stone constructions. Like, ironically, they would be one of the only things from our, not that they really count as our civilization, but from the modern world, the pyramids would be one of the only things that could survive in 100,000 years. So it makes you think, like, how long have they been there? And I think the Egyptians definitely undertook some kind of construction project around the time of 2500 BC.
Oh, for sure.
Because there's records of them saying they did stuff, but that doesn't mean, because they have all these records, but there's no records of how they built it.
Well, they also, the buildings that they made that were after 2500 BC are dog shit.
So much worse.
They're terrible.
They just immediately forgot how to do it again straight away.
They were trying to copy, and they just couldn't do it. They didn't have the math. They didn't have the engineering. The stones are smaller.
And no one's claimed, they don't claim credit for the pyramids, which is weird.
Yeah.
Why would you not claim it?
Yeah. It's all weird. It's the weirdest, right? So it's the one thing that if you're a logical person and you think you know the timeline of history, you think you understand human civilization, you think you understand like how intelligence evolved and how technology and innovation evolved, and you see that, you're like, oh, I don't know shit. I don't know shit. Like, how's that statue so big and perfectly symmetrical?
They're crazy.
How about these vases that they don't understand?
Oh, is that a replica
This is
of...
a 3D.
Oh, see that.
And this is a 3D model of an actual vase from Egypt.
Yeah. They're doing some good work on this, aren't they? People like Uncharted
Who gave this
X
to us? Did
and-
Christopher Dunn give this to us? I think he did.
It's probably him, yeah.
But Ben from Uncharted X, he's done a lot of work on these things. Like those vases are very bizarre, very bizarre.
And
The
they appear right at
precision-
the start of the
Yes.
Egyptian dynasties.
Yeah,
And they forget how to do that as well.
we have no idea how they made them. We don't know what tools they used. Anybody that says that they do, you're lying. You really don't know. You can't know. These things are perfectly symmetrical. They weren't turned on a lathe because they have handles. The way they measure them, when you look at like the deviation from round and like how it's like a thousandth of a human hair.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and it's made from incredibly hard granite,
Yeah,
right?
it's like the hardest stone to do that with.
So what are we talking about? Like, who are these people?
Yeah.
This is kind of crazy
And then you have the statues that are perfectly symmetrical.
Perfectly
Like, the faces
symmetrical.
are just incredible.
and
like,
massive.
yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
Right.
Unbelievably huge.
So they moved them there, and then they carved them perfectly symmetrically. It looks like they're 3D printed.
Yeah.
It's so strange. It just screams at a lost technology.
At least, yeah.
It screams that these people had some sort of information and some sort of education that is like on a different path of we went the way of the internal combustion engine and transistors and electronics, and it seems like they went a totally different way, but maybe even further.
Yeah.
But we're scrambled in like our pathway to advancement is the only one that the human mind and all its infinite creativity can conceive of.
And this is another point regarding, like, culture that could have flourished back in 100,000 years ago or whatever. We're always looking for ourselves in the past.
Yes.
But there's so many different ways that we could have gone, because why did it have to be mass farming, mass population growth, and then, as you say, kind of industrial progress? It could have been so many different forms of human development and human lives. And
Well, it could have been if they had enough animals, they mostly ate animals.
yeah, or fish or something.
Yeah, mostly ate animals and fish, which is probably healthier for you anyway. Really what grain is survival food.
Yeah, and we all got like shorter and less healthy when that happened.
Yeah, because we didn't get the right amount of protein.
Yeah.
And our jaws like shrunk because people were eating gruel. Like
Yeah.
if you look at part of the world where people are eating a lot of like porridge and shit, their jaws get really small.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
not
it's
good.
from.
Not good for us.
No, it's fucking terrible we're devolving because of our diets, which is really strange. But if you think about this time, and especially that part of the world where there was so much abundant natural resources, that animal agriculture seems super simple.
Yeah.
You just corral a bunch of animals, you build a fence, and then you eat them.
Yeah.
And you don't really have to grow rice.
So many different ways that culture could have flourished.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're always looking for, and we just don't know where to look as well on the record. Like, one point people always make in like my comments and stuff to try and debunk me is like, oh, we would see pollution. We would see kind of lead signals in the atmosphere or whatever if there was like a big civilization 100,000 years ago. But that's only the case if it was someone on the scale of us now.
Or if they were doing it the way we're doing it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Where we're talking about a completely different pathway. Clearly, there's some technology that they had that we don't understand. When you talk about the drill holes that they find, or the way they had carved out these enormous, massive chunks of stone and were apparently going to move them. We don't understand.
The unfinished obelisk.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The unfinished obelisk, that's bananas. It's so many of these things that they cut out of the ground and absolutely moved are bananas.
Yeah.
So it's like, what kind of technology? Why are we assuming that it's going to be some internal combustion engine that sprays out terrible pollution? What if they had figured something out?
I would say it's entirely possible.
It's entirely possible because we're going to eventually. If you give us another 1,000 years, you will not be able to recognize any of this nonsense that we use for technology today, especially when AI gets involved. Did you see that thing where a quantum computer supposedly went 1 second back in time?
I did. I was reading that.
Is that bullshit?
No, they discovered it 6 years ago, though. It's not new.
What?
6 years ago,
that story was from
2019,
yeah.
But still.
It went back in time.
Yeah, by 1 second and some way in quantum.
What does that even
fields.
mean?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
That's mad.
But that's us. Now imagine that technology that was science fiction 20 years ago, right? We'll go back to like the movie Alien and look at their stupid computers that they had. This is what they thought people were going to have when they were starfaring people.
Yeah.
Now, think of this quantum computer experiment where it goes back in time 1 second and then go forward 1,000 years, which is nothing.
Yeah.
When we're talking about 4,500 years ago, we might be off by 1,000. So go to 5,500 years ago, 6,000. If you're listening to John Anthony West, he thinks it's 34,000 years.
Yeah.
That's what he thinks.
And that sounds so crazy, but then you look at the kind of length of time we've been around and it's still quite recent.
Yeah, it's still quite recent.
And that lines up with the Sphinx, doesn't it? With the kind of, that's the processional cycle.
How much evidence of a quantum computer from 34,000 years ago would be left? Right. So if we did get pelted by comets, which we know happened, that's a fact.
I saw an estimate, I think it was from NASA, but I'm not 100% sure, but it was from a kind of scientific journal that Earth is hit by what they define as a cataclysmic impact every 100,000 years. So that's an impact that's capable of wiping out a third of today's population every 100,000 years. And 100,000 years sounds like a long time, but again, we've been around for 300,000 years. So theoretically, we've been hit by a cataclysmic impact 3 times already during our story. And that both has the potential to completely wipe out anyone that was doing anything sophisticated, but also to wipe the record clean.
Yeah.
And that's not the only thing. You've got, super volcanoes, as we talked about. You've got pole shifts. You've got solar flares. You've got glaciers just scraping across the landscape and just completely erasing the record. You've got sea level rise. Sea level rise is a massive one because, where have we always lived? By the coasts. And if you look at the kind of fluctuation of sea level rise over the last 100,000 years, 200,000 years, 300,000 years, it's sea levels going in and out by hundreds of kilometers at a time, and nothing is going to be left.
Right. Wild stuff.
I know, it's crazy.
It is wild stuff. But again, if someone is a historian and they got into this, someone's an archaeologist and they got into this because they have this fascination for it, for them to become professors and then start teaching and writing books about this stuff and not still be fascinated by the new stuff is, to me, so weird. It's like you missed the whole reason why you got into this in the first place. You got into this in the first place is because you're trying to figure out what happened. How did we get to this point? And if there's evidence that shows that we don't have the full picture and you're ignoring that or dismissing that or...
But the thing is, when you go through these kind of systems, and I've sort of got experience of this. Obviously, I was never a professional academic or anything like that. But, I did history for 4 years. I was kind of inside, and I got to the point where it was almost, you was do this as a career, become a professional academic or not. it's very hard to kind of even think this way because everyone around you is thinking within these boxes that we've created for ourselves. And so it's very hard to kind of open your mind, and you kind of have to do it in private as well because no one else is talking in those terms around you, and you're surrounded by people that think in quite limited terms. And I don't say that to kind of be offensive or, doubt anyone's intelligence.
Well, it's the culture.
Exactly. It's the culture. And it means that it's very hard to think outside the box when you're kind of in that culture. And yeah, I think that's kind of what creates these, rigid systems of thought.
It's also kind of fear-based because it's not just discouraged. They'll attack you.
They attack each other even when they are within
viciously.
the box. Yeah.
Just to think about the Clovis first issue.
Yeah, that's the best example.
It's the best example because that guy was destroyed.
His career
Tom
was
destroyed.
And Jack St. Mars and
they were right.
Yep.
They were destroyed for theorizing that human beings had lived in North America and that had arrived in North America far before 13,000 years ago. And that was the established timeline of the Clovis people. And then when they found these footprints in New Mexico that are 22,000 years old.
Yeah, and they hated that as well. They hated that.
Of course they hated it. But they hated it just because they were wrong. It's all it is, man. It's human ego is so gross. And this brings me back to psychedelics. Because what do psychedelics do that's most important? Well, the dissolving of the ego. It's one of the most important aspects of it. It makes you realize the folly of your ways. And all of these people that are supposed to be the academics, they're supposed to be the enlightened ones. They're not enlightened. They have information, and they hold that information like it's their identity. And they're right about a lot of things because they have been studying it, and they do deserve credit for that. What they've done is amazing. And the understanding that these academics, these archaeologists and historians can give us of our world and our history is really cool. It's really awesome. But there's a whole lot more out there. And for them to pretend and dismiss people they should embrace people like Graham Hancock. And then they should correct him when he's saying something that's wrong.
Yeah.
But instead of lying and then calling him a racist and saying all these terrible things about him, well, that just shows me that you don't really have an argument. And you're trying to protect your identity. Your identity is the gatekeeper of this information that is not yours to gatekeep. It's for the whole human race to understand what the hell happened.
Yeah. And I wish that, we've seen a surge in interest in ancient history and prehistory and, the story of our species through people like Graham Hancock, who have kind of created a massive interest in this subject. But instead of embracing that, they see it as a threat. And I think that's really sad, to be honest. And yeah, I think it kind of hurts the discipline in general, because if you kind of embrace that and brought him into the table and spoke to him and kind of agreed to have the discussion, then it would create a much kind of more healthy debate around these things. And when you talk about the Clovis kind of narrative, it because we think that we know what happened and thus we know what didn't happen, it means that people aren't even looking for stuff that now we know was there. So they didn't dig deeper than the Clovis layer until very recently, because they knew that humans weren't around until Clovis, but obviously that was wrong. So they could have missed so much stuff, and they probably did. I mean, have you seen that? There's to be fair, I think Graham mentioned it on the show, the Saruti Mastodon site, which is 130,000 years ago in America. I mean, if that's human, which it kind of looks like it is,
that's debatable, though, right? Isn't that debatable? Because the way the bones are broken, it could have been from some sort of an accident or an avalanche or something, right?
Yeah, it is debatable, but it could be human. It could easily be human, because it kind of looks like human markings on bones. I mean, so
it looks like scrapings, like they're scraping the marrow out of the bones.
Yeah, exactly.
Or some kind of primitive.
But why couldn't it have been human? I mean, it didn't necessarily have to be Homo sapien, but why couldn't another human species have got to the Americas?
Well, it seems like they certainly could have if they were here 22,000 years ago. Why?
Exactly.
What was that timeline? Why'd they figure it out then?
Yeah.
And how'd they do it, right? That's the question. How'd they do it? And we know that people were seafaring from, what was the earliest seafarers?
You could argue that Homo erectus seafared 800,000 years ago, which is just mental.
Could you really?
Well, they reached places that were isolated. And some people say, they kind of floated there accidentally. which is possible, but it seems a bit weird that you'd then like survive and colonize a place.
See, that's where it gets so squirrely. If Homo erectus made a boat, that's bananas.
I mean, Neanderthals were definitely making boats, and this points to how intelligent they were. They were making sophisticated boats and sailing across the Mediterranean and colonizing places like Crete well over 100,000 years ago.
Well, we know that the North Sentinel people, they arrived by boat from Africa 60,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And so at least then people were seafaring.
Oh, definitely.
And probably way earlier than that. So why would we assume they wouldn't get to the Americas? That seems crazy.
I mean, bigger journey, to be fair. But then I guess if you go across the top...
Which way you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. If you go across the top and kind of hop down along the coast, then not so hard.
Well, also, there's the problem. It's like if you go back 12,000 years ago, Canada's covered in ice.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. It's literally all ice. So where are they coming from?
Well,
they have to be coming from the south.
I guess. I mean, there's the kind of theory regarding the Polynesian kind of island chain, you know, hopping across to Easter Island and then making one last hop across to South America, or
that's a crazy hop, though.
Going the other way. It is a crazy hop.
But people have always done crazy. Just the fact that they did it in the 1400s is bananas.
That's pretty crazy. And they did that with tech that was, you know, no tech. They just did it with the stars.
Yeah.
And wood.
But then you get to how do you say that ancient Greek symbol, that ancient Greek mechanism that they found?
Oh, the Antikythera mechanism.
That's it. I never could say that. Antikythera. I'll try to remember.
You got it.
But I always forget it. But that thing is bananas. Like that, when they first found it, it just looked like a hunk of shit. Like, what is this? And then when they got a better understanding, I think it was like a long time after they discovered it, that they go, oh, wait a minute, these are gears. Like, what?
It's like a computer, basically.
2,000-year-old computer.
Yeah. At least, and also that's not the first one. Like, someone didn't just develop that and was like, here we go, I just fucking made a computer. Like, it was clearly like a long history of very, very technical stuff in ancient Greece. And it could well have been the ancient Greeks, but also it could have been like, well, what's the history of this technology? And
more technical than like this modern automatic watch.
Yeah.
You know, modern automatic watch, if you look at the inside of them, it's crazy. There's springs and gears, and it's all within, like this Seiko is like within, I think it's a couple seconds a day.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's all these little, and it moves, it has no power source other than the movement of your hand.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And it has a
mechanism.
72-hour power reserve. So for 72 hours, if you let it sit there, just from the power of your hand from wearing it for a few. Yeah.
That's a cool watch.
Nuts. Isn't that nuts? But that's
crazy.
normal. That's a normal thing for a modern watch with these little tiny gears. This thing's way crazier than that.
Yeah.
And it's 2,000 years old.
At least.
What do they think it was for?
I think they thought it kind of like tracked the lunar cycles and the kind of elliptical movements of... I'm not
Have you
100%
seen
sure,
the 3D AI representation of what it looked like when it was fully done? See if you can find that, because that's the most eye-opening of it. Because you're bringing this back to the time of Christ, and someone made a computer during the time of Christ. Like, okay, what are we missing? Like, Graham's quote is the best. I love this quote. We are a species with amnesia.
100%.
100%. Yeah. And there's other quote that I really love. Things just keep getting older.
And things do keep getting older.
They keep getting older. Yeah. And this is something that people resist for some strange reason. And I don't understand it. I think it's just because it's attached to these folks like Graham.
Yeah, that's the one.
Look at it. That's nuts. That's what it used to look like.
This is a modern reproduction of it.
Oh, right. But that is what it used to look like, right?
Based off of these
So,
pieces. It's crazy.
Show me the modern reproduction of what it looked like. Just imagine. Okay, someone 2,000 fucking years ago figured that out, and they have these little representations of the stars and the planets, of the sun, and then all the planets surrounded. Like, first of all, how do they know all that? How are they seeing these planets? Like, do they have a telescope? Like, how do they know how many planets are in our solar system? What did you base this on?
And no equivalent technology ever like re-emerged until like the 16th century with like Swiss clockmakers or something.
So it just makes you wonder, like, how old is that, and what's that from, and what were the was there other stuff like this that we never find?
When I googled first seafarers,
Yeah, I think that's
But there's no. I don't see the evidence that they have for 700,000 years ago.
I think that's the Homo erectus thing.
And they're crossing I googled it, and crossing the Aegean Sea. It says they might have been doing, which there was some like islands that were protecting it from crazy weather, potentially made it easier.
But
I don't know what evidence.
That is a crazy thing to read. Some evidence suggests that man may have crossed the sea as early as 700,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Aren't you happy you were born today?
Yeah.
Imagine trying to gut it out,
What, like
tough it out,
take the
living
boys
back
and
then?
go and cross some fucking sea in a wooden raft.
Yeah, when
be
you
too
wind up
fun.
eating your friend because there's no food left. Yeah, it's kind of amazing that we got as far as we did, but it's really amazing when they find things like that. Is the Antikythera mechanism? I said it right.
You did.
Nailed it. I'll try to remember. But just the fact that we found one of those, and it makes you wonder, like, what they have in Egypt? You know, what did they have 2,000 years before that? What did we miss?
Digging into the stone stuff while you're talking about frequencies. I saw a video recently that doesn't explain all the Egypt stuff, but there were frequencies coming out of these rocks that I don't think everybody is currently like studying. People have studied it. That's very basic, but like there's the King's Chamber and the reverberations that happen. I was reading from Archimedes, I think, this quote here. When the priests sing the hymns of the gods, they sing the 7 vowels in due succession. The sound of these vowels has such euphony, I think that's that word, that men listen to it instead of the flute and the lyre, the lyre. So from 2000 or 200 BC.
There's like so many ancient sites that are all built with kind of acoustic, like resonance in mind.
Yeah, so that's what I was getting into this. I was trying to find the proof of it. Someone made a video I saw recently where the somatic stuff shows up all over the place in some ancient sites, definitely obviously in churches and cathedrals.
Ooh.
But this is what happens when you like put sand on a plate and hum on it or put a certain frequency.
Vibrations, yeah.
And how you stumble across this, and it just so happens to be the same thing we're discovering now. Crazy.
What is that image of? What is that golden?
This?
Yeah, what's that?
It's a cathedral. I looked at it a second ago.
Is that in Canada?
No, the article is from Spain.
It's in Spain. Whoa. That is wild.
Okay. I was looking into the oldest doors people found. The oldest door is only like 5,000 BC, and it was found in Switzerland somewhere.
Huh.
There's the oldest active doors in the UK. It's from 900 AD, I think.
What are those images of sacred geometry from? And that right there,
This?
Leonardo da Vinci's original drawing of the flower of life. What Da Vinci? What drugs are you taking, son? How is he seeing that? Yeah, well, that's ancient imagery, right? That's sacred geometry. Those depictions have been around forever.
He was a crazy dude, Da Vinci, well, in a good way.
Yeah.
Smart guy.
Bizarrely smart.
Very smart.
It's weird when you have these outliers, these outliers that come out of nowhere, and like he had like a working model of a flying machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had like 3 jobs.
Yeah.
Crazy guy.
And he's an amazing artist.
Yeah.
It's kind of, these outliers that just, how many of them we never heard of? How many of them were from 30,000 years ago? How many, we have such a limited understanding of our history. And I always think, like, if something happened to us right now, what would really be left? The real problem is everything is either on paper, and there's not a lot of it on paper anymore. It's on hard drives. And those things would get cooked.
Mm-hmm.
If there was just a massive solar flare, something huge that took out our power grid and destroyed all of our cell phone towers and all our satellites, no more electricity.
And even if it didn't get cooked,
Yeah.
what would you do with it in 100 or in 10,000 years?
Exactly.
If you found that, you wouldn't know what that was.
You wouldn't know what that was. You would have to devise a new version of Windows to read it. It would take so long, and it would probably have been corroded and wasted away
It wouldn't be
long
recognizable.
before that. Especially if something happened, it was underwater. Especially if the entire
world is on fire because we got hit with a comet,
Yeah.
like there wouldn't be much left. And this is like a really shitty way to store information.
It does feel like a bit of a risk, doesn't it?
It's a giant risk.
Everything we've ever kind
Yeah.
of learnt and, discovered and thought about is all
Well, you know
just-
what happens when your phone dies and you don't have a backup phone? You're like, oh
gone.
no, I don't know anyone's number.
And we do that with our entire civilization's knowledge.
Right. And so then you would have just stories and myths of what things used to be like. There was an all-female flight crew at Delta. You're like, what? What are you talking about? What does that even mean? They had satellites. What are you talking about? Like, what is the thing is, like, I wonder how many of the satellites would still be in orbit, or whether their orbit would deteriorate and they'd come crashing down to Earth.
I think they would decay like relatively
Right.
quickly, I think. I mean, I'm not sure, but lots of them would, I think. And when we're talking big time scales.
Yeah, let's Google that. How many satellites that are in orbit today? See if put this into AI. How many satellites that are in orbit around the Earth today will be there in 100,000 years? Does Perplexity have an answer for that?
To be
Is
fair, I think it's unlikely that anyone else was doing like space travel and stuff.
Unlikely.
Yeah.
Certainly
Maybe not
unlikely.
impossible, but I don't think there's anything on the moon, for example. I think we'd probably see that, but
Yeah, that's the weird one, right? There's bases on the dark side of the moon,
Yeah.
and they're watching us. Are you sure?
yeah, I don't think so.
Well, then there's the weirdness of the moon itself, that it's the absolute perfect size and the perfect distance to completely block out the sun.
That is weird, isn't it?
Real
is super
weird.
weird.
It's real weird because it's not kind of right. It's perfect.
Precise, yeah.
It's very precise. So you would need the precise size and the precise distance.
That is weird.
And there's also the fact that it stabilizes our atmosphere. It stabilizes our environment.
Yeah, I guess the argument for that is we wouldn't be here if it wasn't.
Right.
If it wasn't the exact right.
This is the best
Yeah.
answer. It's you might have to read the whole thing, but there's thousands of satellites burning up each year in the atmosphere.
Oh, shit.
Is what I got to the end of.
Oh, so thousands of them crash down?
For sure. I mean, they.
So how long do they last?
It's the first. That's why I was trying to track that down. The first one only lasted 3 months.
So Sputnik 1, the Soviet Union, in 1957, 3 months later, it fell out of orbit.
So it seems like they worked up to about a 25-year rule where they don't expect it to last that long. And
Wow.
it's gonna crash down.
So in 25 years, there's nothing left.
But I was trying to Google
Right.
how long would till the last one, if they stop putting them up, how long until the last one crashes down.
It seems like 25 years.
That's why I couldn't get a good answer that way.
Did you put it into AI?
I didn't because I don't want to. I don't like asking questions you don't know the answer to AI. I
That's
like asking questions I know the answer to.
Well, I just like to see how it thinks. I like to see if it's going to just bullshit you and lie to you, or if it's going to,
That's why I want to know when it's bullshitting me.
yeah.
I don't like knowing when it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because you just have to trust it. Doesn't feel
Well,
good.
it's also basing all its information on websites.
Yeah, and I don't know what year it was trained on. I was watching people talk about sports cards. They're like, it's not updated in the last 3 years, so you can't use this data. It's not good data.
Oh, really? Which one was that?
I don't know which one they were talking about. There's so many AI opportunities out there.
It's funny watching people on Twitter use Grok and try to get Grok to say things it doesn't want to say.
Yeah.
And you realize, oh, there's an information blockade of what Grok is allowed to talk about.
The thing is, you can kind of trick AI to say whatever you want it to say. And
Yeah, I've
that's-
seen people do that, like trick it into saying, like, how would you make a bomb?
Yeah, and that's
You-
almost the
you can
bad
do
thing
it.
about it is it kind of becomes your own little echo chamber after a while if you want it to, if you can kind of convince it to.
Well, we've done a really terrible job of taking care of most people. And when then you give these people access to the kind of power that AI provides them, they're going to ask naughty questions
Yeah,
because they,
it's great fun though.
they're not living in harmony.
Yeah.
Because we're a selfish being. We're a selfish creature.
It's a crazy thing though, the kind of advent of large language models and
Yeah.
artificial intelligence, and it's mad. It's
Well,
mad.
it's also, we're in the middle of it. It's happening right now, which is real weird. So, like, in our lifetimes, we're potentially witnessing the biggest change to civilization since the pyramids.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, even in my lifetime, like I was born in '97, didn't really have. I had to dial up the internet. I remember when I was a kid, and then smartphones came along, and then obviously things like AI, and it is pretty ridiculous.
I was 27 years old before I ever got online.
Yeah.
That was when I first got a computer and I got on AOL. And you've got mail. It's like, I've got mail? This is crazy.
Yeah.
And, and you could go to chat rooms and read about stuff, and you could download information. So I'd print stuff about UFOs, and like, this is the future. I'm living in the future. And we're very fortunate, I think, that we got to see what life was like with a primitive use of the internet to what it's become now, to a quantum computer can go back a second in time to, what is coming next. We don't know. What's really weird is, imagine if this has been done before. We're assuming that it hasn't, but imagine if the Egyptians had figured out something similar. It kind of makes sense. I mean, it sounds preposterous that they did, but why? Why, if we can do it? Why, if we can do it, if maybe it's just a thing, if you leave humans undisturbed for a long enough amount of time with food, they start figuring stuff out. If you can keep them from killing each other, and maybe that's the beautiful thing about the way Egyptian technology had advanced, they didn't split the atom. Maybe they figured out something else, that they couldn't turn into a weapon.
Yeah. They were definitely doing some pretty mad stuff. And then if you look at those kind of granite boxes they made, the completely smooth surface, I mean, they clearly had some form of technology that we don't attribute to them. I think that's undisputed. I mean, it is disputed, but I don't see how you can logically kind of look at what they were doing and not think they had some kind of technology that, we don't traditionally attribute them to. But whether that means they were like some crazy advanced civilization or it was built by some other advanced civilization, that's a bit more hypothetical. But they were clearly doing stuff that we can't appreciate today. So that logically suggests they had something that we don't understand, right?
Right. And when you find
Antikythera
from 2,000 years ago, it makes you just really think, like, okay, what did they have?
Ancient Greece was very inspired by ancient Egypt. So, I mean,
Exactly.
it could have well come from there.
Exactly. Yeah. And we, we're just guessing. We're just lost in guessing.
That's the thing. It's all about interpretation, isn't it? All of history is about interpretation. It's not a hard science like, physics. I mean, physics is kind of crazy too. Although it hurts my head, man. That's too much for me, all that quantum physics stuff. But have you ever heard of the Silurian Hypothesis?
No.
That's,
maybe I have. What is it?
It's kind of linked to this. It's linked to this, ancient civilization stuff. It's the idea that there could have been an advanced civilization on our planet, 100 million years ago, a non-human one that was advanced and industrial, and we just wouldn't see any trace because of how long ago it was, and they could have been here, and we just wouldn't know because it's been so long. It's kind of like where I come from with my kind of human idea. Obviously, it's a further time span, but it was proposed by two physicists. Is why I just thought of it just then. It's a guy called Adam Frank and.
I've had Adam on before.
You've had him on?
Yeah.
Adam Frank. There you go. I mean, did he might have
We
talked
had him
about
on,
it.
Jamie, right?
I don't know.
Didn't we?
Let me see.
You can see many
It's a
episodes.
problem. That happens all the time. We're like, yeah, we've had him on. I know we have.
Episode 1130.
I knew we have.
There you go.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to check because I have been wrong before. Where we talked about a guy. I'm like, who's that guy? And then I talked to him for 3 hours.
I thought you were. I was like,
Yeah, it's happened before. But so this idea is that something else other than human beings.
Well, it's just the idea that if it had, we wouldn't know. And because the Earth's been around for so long and complex multicellular life appeared, relatively early in our 4 billion year history of the Earth or whatever. I'm not sure on the dates, but we've been around, the Earth has been around for so long. And we know that intelligence can emerge because it emerged with us and happened relatively quickly when you look at the kind of massive timescale that the Earth's been around and how long multicellular life has been around. So their idea is kind of like, well, what if, a civilization in the kind of era of the dinosaurs had, become very advanced and an industrial society? And they say we would see absolutely no evidence. Like when I'm talking about human civilization, we would see some potential evidence, rock carved stone or whatever. But they would say you wouldn't even see the nuclear waste deposits because it's that long ago that nothing would survive. And then I think about that and I think, well, isn't it almost more likely that something did happen, considering we know that intelligence can emerge relatively quickly? Multicellular life has been on the planet for so long.
A limited understanding of the fossil record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why couldn't something have happened before? And then you start getting a bit, stoner about it, and you start thinking, well, maybe they're still here because they.
That's what I like to do. I like to go interdimensional because I think, like, well, if you do have these quantum computers that can go back 1 second in time, and you move forward 1,000 years from now, and they're run by AI, like, what can they do? Like, what do they cease to? Do these beings cease to exist in this dimension? Do they develop the ability to be transdimensional? Do they no longer exist in our space and time? Is that like the emergence of this new life form and then they observe us? Is that what's going on?
Well, I feel like if you kind of survive, a lot longer than we have and you kind of get to a different like kind of level of intelligence, then why would you need the kind of physical body? Why would you need the physical realm? And why couldn't you kind of diverge different dimensions if such a thing is possible? Like,
we certainly can imagine it taking place somewhere else, on another planet with a similar atmosphere that supports life, and maybe they live in a solar system that doesn't have an asteroid belt.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm sure they must exist where they're not getting pelted all the time. We're just in a shitty neighborhood. We're basically in a neighborhood that gets shot up all the time.
A shooting gallery, yeah.
Yeah, it's a shooting gallery.
Yeah.
And imagine them achieving where we are at, but then plus 1 million years. And you can go, oh, yeah, well, I guess all bets are off in terms of what's possible. We 100 years ago, people were freaking out if they saw a car. Now we're sending video from a tiny little screen on your phone
across the world.
Yeah, instantaneously. It's all nuts.
And we don't even blink at that. You get pissed off if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck can't I talk to this guy in Australia? And instantly, like, why is my phone not working?
And, people are addicted to staring at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's pulling you into its gravity. It's all very, very weird stuff.
Yeah, we adjust very quickly to...
Real quick.
Yeah, how technology develops. And it's just getting faster and faster and faster.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you think, where will we be in 100 years, in 500 years, if nothing happens?
Yeah. Where will we be? I think we'll be somewhere really weird. But I'm hoping that as we do advance and wherever we're going to be, it'll help us understand where we came from. Like, if AI and super intelligence starts examining the history of the human race, then things can get very interesting. And maybe it could give us places to look. Like, we need physical, human beings or drones on the ground excavating certain areas. This is like prime place to look.
Yeah, I kind of flip between like quite a pessimistic outlook and quite an optimistic outlook on these things. Like, sometimes I think like it's just gone and we're never going to know, and we can speculate for as much as we like, but it's gone. And then sometimes I think, no, like, you never know. There's so many places that are just completely unexcavated, completely unexplored, that we haven't looked at, like, beneath the Sahara, on the ocean floor by these could I have some coffee, please?
Yes,
that'd be
sir.
all right. Thank you.
Of course.
And it's all these places that we haven't explored, and as you say, technology like AI.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you. Sometimes I think, yeah, maybe we are going to make like these massive discoveries that are going to completely shift our understanding of history. And as you say, the kind of Giza, the findings beneath Giza, that could be a moment. And I'm always looking for that. But then sometimes I flip again and think, maybe we'll never find anything. And I just don't know. Maybe I'm just speculating for no reason, and I should just stop.
Have you seen Ben on Uncharted X? He has a very recent video of these. I don't even know how you describe it. There's these underground structures in Egypt that he says are bigger than the Giza Plateau, that are underground.
I haven't seen that. No, I love his channel, but
there's a historical record of these things where people had talked about them, like, way back. Even explorers had visited them and found them to be more spectacular than what is actually on the ground, that the underground thing was even crazier.
And that begs the question, why underground? Why do we find all this underground construction all over the world?
Hey,
Whoa.
Jamie.
Was that? And that's his theme music. I even recognized that. Shout out to Uncharted X.
Yes, he's coming on soon to talk about this very thing.
He's awesome.
He's really awesome, and he spends so much time down there. So,
he did something. Are you talking about? He did a video on the kind of
right there.
Havara
Unknown ancient site. So the unknown ancient site said to be greater than the pyramids, confirmed with satellite scans.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen this.
Give us the coming up. Just play it.
Just so many different techniques. The Geoscan and Merlin Burrows satellite technologies, I mean, they're vastly different techniques. They seem to be aligned. They're telling you the same things. So they found something. Like, there's something down there. What is down there seems to be also quite a mystery. The central object is hard to classify. It appears metallic, not stone or wood. A freestanding 40-meter long metallic tic-tac shaped object. Approximately, 50, 60 meters below the ground in a huge big open corridor or an atrium. Come on. Like, this is a remarkable claim.
It's a crazy video. And he goes deep into the history of people talking about these sites, and even ancient explorers who wrote about visiting Egypt would talk about how it was even more spectacular underground. Here it is. This is how do you say his name?
Petrie, yeah. He's written a lot because he was like one of the first people.
It's Flanders Petrie.
Yeah.
So are those the names of the sites he's talking about? Hawara, Biamahu,
yeah. Oh, sorry,
and Arcion.
Yeah, Harara is definitely a site.
Arsinoe. So it says, on that space could be erected the Great Hall of Karnak and all successive temples adjoining it, and the Great Court and the pylons of it. Also the Temple of Mut and that of, how do you say that? Khonsu?
I guess.
Khonsu. Yeah. And the Amenhotep III at Karnak. Also, the two great temples of Luxor, and still there would be room for the whole of Ramesseum. What does that mean? In short, all of the temples of the east of Thebes, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names, folk, and one of the largest of the West Bank might be placed together in the one area in the ruins of Hawara. Here we certainly have a site worthy of the renown which the labyrinth acquired. So this is an ancient explorer who's talking about he actually got into this area. The problem now is it's all submerged, so it's been flooded, and it's very difficult to do any kind of archaeological work on it now.
Yeah, because he was one of the first people in.
Yeah,
Western people.
They're like crawling into these like holes and swimming in now. It's real weird. It's like you could die in there. So someone's got to figure out how to get the fucking water out of there, and what is that? So if this guy is accurate with what he's talking about, again, explain that. Explain how you've got something that's even greater than what you're seeing above the surface, underneath 50 meters down in the stone.
And why underground?
Why?
So much harder.
Exactly. What were they doing? Were they hiding? Is this like what happened when cataclysms took place? They said, well, listen, we need to develop a way to survive these things, and let's get underground. And
there's so many all over the world as well. There's like people are always, well, ancient people are always building underground construction, and we can't explain how they did it, who did it, or why they did it today. And again, no one in the mainstream really kind of looks into that.
Yeah, that site in Turkey, wasn't it supposed to house like 2,000 people?
Yeah. And the
Is that the number, like 2,000 people?
At least, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's huge.
Huge. I think it might be 20,000 people.
It's massive.
That sounds better.
And yeah.
Sounds more exciting. But it is massive, and they don't know how they did, and they carved it out of stone.
They don't know who built it.
And there's no evidence of the stone being left anywhere. It's not like there's a big pile of it outside of it. It's real weird.
Yeah, 20,000, there you go.
20,000 people together with their livestock and food stores. So 20,000 people, livestock and food stores, extending to a depth of approximately 85 meters underground.
And no one knows who built that. That's just
all
so
of it
crazy.
Underground. Nuts.
And their kind of argument is that they built it to kind of
it looks like.
protect themselves from an invading army, but that's never made sense to me, because if you were attacking those people, you just block the entrances.
Yeah,
right?
and then start fires.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems silly. It seems like more likely what they were doing was escaping whatever the fuck was on the surface.
And so who built that and why? And how old is
Right.
it? Because again, it's stone that could survive for so long.
Right, and also, did you build it after a cataclysm? Like, how do you do it? Do you know it's coming, and that's how you build it? No, you didn't know it's coming unless it happens regularly, and they realize the only way to survive it is to get underground.
Well, I guess it could be the remnants of an earlier culture that was wiped out, and
Right.
they had like a memory of maybe passed down through myth.
Look how nuts that is.
Yeah, I was thinking too, like knowing how like leafcutter ants do it. This couldn't have been the first one they made. You
Yeah,
can't get
again,
lucky.
exactly,
Right,
exactly.
right.
And figure out how to make all those chambers to breathe and stuff.
That's so bananas, dude. That's 85 meters into the ground.
So crazy. And then
So crazy.
another great one is Longyou Caves in China, which is there's just zero explanation of what that is or who built it. There's no record of its construction. Have you seen
Yes.
you've seen Longyou Caves? Yeah.
Yeah, pull that up
Crazy.
because that's nuts too.
Absolutely
Like,
crazy.
How old is that supposed to be?
No one knows. They have no idea who built it. It's just like, well, what is this? And they don't know who built it. There's no record of who built it. They don't know what it was for. There's no deposits of stone. There's no tools found nearby.
Do they have a theory of the timeline?
I don't think so. I mean, to be fair, it's in China, so it's kind of like it's not. It's
It's found in 1992.
Whoa,
Yeah.
farmer. 4 farmers.
so there's 24 of them, like looking like that.
Wow.
24.
At least 2,000 years old.
Go to a video of it so
Yeah,
we
I
can
was trying
see.
to find the info.
Because the caves, when people walk around it with a camera, it's bananas.
And there's 24 distinct ones that look like that. And it's just like, who's building that
Can
and
you
why?
still visit China without going to jail? What happens?
I don't
I've
know.
seen people-
Oh, this is Mike Collins. He's great, Wandering Wolf.
Yes. He's the one who does all that stuff about that wall in Montana, too.
Yeah, the Sage Wall.
Very
yeah.
weird. That Montana thing is very weird. I go back and forth on that one being man-made or...
Yeah, that's the case for so many like of these things. It's like it could be natural, but then
Not this one, though.
this is definitely not fucking natural.
Can you imagine in 1992 some farmers are just fucking around and they find this?
Find
and
24 of them as well.
And they're like, yo, what did we find?
I think the carvings are modern.
Oh, they are?
I think so. I think
Like,
they are.
from
not
1992?
the parallel lines. They don't know what they are. They have no idea why the parallel lines are there. But I think the kind of carvings depicting like mystical Chinese stuff is a kind of modern addition.
Oh, like brand new?
Yeah,
Like
just
after
like
the-
since they discovered it.
Oh, really? Like even
think.
those ones on the wall right there? That's so gross.
I think so. I may be wrong.
No.
Might be worth checking. I'm not 100%
Oh,
sure.
I hope they didn't do that. Oh, that would be gross. Can you imagine?
Yeah. But that's
Bro.
always that site has just always baffled me because again, if you look at the Wikipedia page for that site, it's just like 3 lines. But it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. So the carvings.
Yeah,
Are those really old
I'm not
or are
100%
those
sure.
modern? What made you think that they're modern?
Because I did a little video on, I mentioned this in a video, and during my research of that, I saw that.
Oh, so in the research you found out that they were modern.
Yeah.
Okay. So the lines, it seems to be, the parallel lines seems to be like how they dug all the stuff out, like one layer at a time. Would you think that?
Yeah, but like how and what, using what? There's
Right.
24 of them. And also, they're all so precisely identical. It's like, what tool you're using to make sure this was so identical?
Right. Like what tool are you carving stone with to make a giant cave? One particular cave stands out for its detailed carvings of dragons, animals, people, and figures closely resembling the 8 immortals from Taoist mythology. These depictions suggest a deep connection to Taoism. Whether these carvings were a part of the original structure or added later after the caves were rediscovered in 1992 remains a topic of debate. After close examining of the carvings and a noticing of unique method used to chip away at the rock for these images, it seems likely that they were added later,
Yeah.
perhaps turning the cave into a sacred place reflecting the religious beliefs at the time. Oh, so some gross people carved into it in 1992. Ugh. That's so
then-
crazy that you did that, guys, because that's probably what people have done throughout time. I bet that's, probably the people that like put their dead body in the pyramid. Like,
Well, yeah, and that's the thing with all the other things
Yeah.
in Egypt is people have carved hieroglyphics onto there, but that doesn't mean that that's when the original thing was built.
Can you go back to the video, please, Jamie, of that site so we could see like what it looks like when you're walking around in it? Because the fact that they don't really know who made it, and the fact that these farmers found it in 1994
when you see the scope of it, that's where it really sets
It's
in.
just unbelievably big.
Yeah, because I think like images are cool, but the way this guy's walking around it, you really get it.
And then you have to times that by 24.
Imagine those farmers. They're like, should we tell anybody?
Yeah.
If we don't, they're gonna kill us. They might kill us anyway.
How much is added then? How much was added then afterwards if they did the
I
carvings?
know.
How much like stairs and
Oh yeah, all the stairs were added for sure. I bet. Right, the stairs that
like,
guy's
does
on.
look too new, obviously.
But again, what was this
know.
for? Like, why did they
Yeah,
build
they
this
look
huge
new. All that shit
cavern?
looks new. Yeah, why did they? Like, what is this? The carvings.
I mean,
Ugh.
unless maybe they're trying to make the carvings to make it seem like it was older, and people would come wonder and just come look, and it'd be a tourist attraction.
Like maybe without art, they didn't think it would get enough people to visit.
I think it's also to kind of connect it to kind of, you know,
Bro.
more like contemporary cultural China rather than, because I mean, who knows how old this could be?
That's crazy.
Because it's stone.
That's so crazy. The fact that they just found it, just stumbled on it. That's what's the weirdest thing about some of the discoveries. Because that's the same with Gobekli Tepe. It was a sheep herder, right?
Someone found Gobekli Tepe in the 60s and they didn't think it was anything, so they left it.
Really?
Yeah, it's like that guy fucking missed the boat a little
No
bit.
way.
Yeah, some American archaeologists found it in the 60s. And
What
they
did
were
he
like,
find?
I can't remember, but they found like a little bit of it and they were like, oh, this is clearly just some like, you know, contemporary Bronze Age society. Don't worry
That
about
guy
that.
must have shot himself.
He
must have
fucking
been
he missed the
like,
boat a little bit there,
I
didn't he?
could be a stoic. I
Exactly.
could have been the guy instead of a fucking sheep herder.
Yeah.
Because there was a guy who just found like a stone, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, here it is, 1960s. A survey conducted by archaeologists from Istanbul University and the University of Chicago found some flint and limestone artifacts, but they didn't perceive the site as anything more than a medieval cemetery.
Whoops.
Whoopsies. Whoopsies.
Yeah, that was the
That's
find of your
so
career, and you fucked that.
nuts. What a slip up. So the sheep herder that found it, I think he just found like a corner of something, and he like kicked it with his boot and was like, "What is this?" And then started looking around and scraping it off. And then I think once he realized it was really big, he goes like, "Maybe I
Got
should
the
call
boys in,
somebody.
Yeah.
Call
then-
somebody who knows how to dig."
The whole like 5% excavation thing is so puzzling at Gobekli Tepe because, I mean, to be clear, that's kind of how, that's like normal practice, I think,
Yeah.
for archaeology. But you would think that Gobekli Tepe is like a bit more of it's a special case. It
Yeah,
has
that's
such
not
implications.
normal. That should, but it's also, they make a lot of money off of tourism, of
That's the
people
thing,
visiting it the way it is, and that would disrupt everything if you had a bunch of eggheads digging into the ground all around you. I
Yeah.
see that, but then they started doing weird stuff like planting olive trees above the ruins, and everyone was telling them like, "Hey guys, if you do that, these trees are going to grow roots. The roots are going to destroy what's underneath them."
Yeah,
And
that's
they're like, "No, everything's going to be fine." And then they realize, "Oh, it's actually destroying what's
I think
underneath it."
that's like a microcosm of the problem with a small section of very vocal kind of mainstream archaeologists. I think the whole tree controversy regarding Gobekli Tepe is because it was Jimmy, right? Jimmy Bright
Jimmy
Insight.
Corsetti.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever
He
you
can't
think,
go there anymore, you know.
I'm not surprised.
He might have snuck in
He
recently.
did a video, yeah, he did a video
But I think he's banned from the country.
from the whole of Turkey.
I think he's banned from the site at the very least.
But it doesn't make sense because
They're
whatever
mad at him for telling the truth.
exactly. Whatever you think of Jimmy,
I
like
might
he
be
was
wrong.
right.
Let's find out if he's banned. I don't want to get Turkey mad at me, because I think Turkey's probably the birthplace of civilization.
Possibly.
Of what we think of as civilization. I mean, there's so many different things that they've found in Turkey now that's starting to lean people to think that like maybe that spot, maybe we've there was probably a bunch of places like that in the Middle East where civilization had sort of emerged from whatever had happened before.
Or the Sahara.
Or the
Great
Sahara.
Sahara,
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you think about the Richard? Let's get to that in a second here. Oh, yeah. Turkey should have banned me when they had a chance. If my Jimmy's so crazy. If my prior work on Gobekli Tepe upset them, what I will share in the coming days, weeks is going to take things to another level. But because we were cunning around various security protocols and aided with exceptional timing, we got the footage. Our ancient history belongs to humanity. I agree. Anyone that opposes that has no place controlling our lost history. Good for you, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you think about him, he was right about the trees. And the fact that they had these people kind of coming out defending the trees and saying the trees were good for archaeological sites, just...
Yeah, I don't know what Jimmy has a degree in, if anything, but he clearly knows a lot about ancient history, and he's really interested in it. And this, again, this gatekeeping. Like, if you watch his videos, and he constantly gets smeared with all sorts of different horrible claims that he's this and he's that. And he's like, if you watch his videos, you know that's not true. He's just a guy who is very fascinated and deeply informed on a lot of the timelines of all these different things and how interesting they are. And he likes to make videos of them, and that's a good thing.
Why shouldn't he be allowed to speculate? He's just a guy speculating.
And he's really fair and balanced with how he talks about things.
And he's good at it, man. He puts together arguments really well. And you just mentioned the Rishat Structure thing. I've watched his videos on that, and like, it's interesting, man, the way he kind of connects what Plato was saying about Atlantis and brings it all to the Rishat. It's interesting stuff.
It's very interesting because it's also, he talks about how Plato would talk about the mountains to the north and the river to the south. He's like, this all lines up.
Concentric rings.
This concentric rings in the same size as was described as Atlantic.
And the Tamanrasset river system used to run straight through, so it was surrounded by water, so it could have been...
How come everybody's like, nah?
Well, it's because you can't prove it, isn't it?
Well, it's a little bit of that, but it's also because this YouTube guy is the one talking about it. And that's, if they admit that he was right, that would drive them fucking crazy.
They had to with the trees.
Yeah.
They had to move them.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Sorry. But I think he's right about Atlantis, too. I think he might be right. There's something about that that's weird. It's also weird if you look at it from a satellite perspective. The satellite imagery where you get to see where it all looks like it's been washed over by water.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the whole thing looks exactly like sand looks when the tide comes in and then pulls back.
Yeah.
It's all rippled and it looks like it was pummeled by water.
Yeah.
And
match the sinking into the sea in a single day and night.
Exactly. And also, like, how many stories from ancient history depict floods? There's so many of them. Like, are we going to ignore all of them as myth?
Well, the idea that myth doesn't hold any kind of use in understanding the past is just ridiculous, because the myth is powerful because it's the thing we've collectively remembered as a species, isn't it? So why would we dismiss that as a kind of, historical record? And then you've got examples of like indigenous cultures that remember kind of scientific information through myth. Like, I always go to this example of these kind of islanders during the tsunami in 2004, and they went to it was the Andaman Islands, and the kind of Western scientists or whatever went to the island after the Boxing Day tsunami, and they were like, oh, everyone's going to be dead, like they're all going to have been wiped out by this tsunami. And they were fine because they had this myth in their culture that when the sea recedes, you get to high ground because then the waves are going to come that will eat men. Yeah. And that myth, that has encoded scientific information regarding tsunamis, and that saved their culture's lives. And they had like no casualties compared to, Western or modern people who were devastated.
Isn't that crazy? Everybody else was like, wow, look at all the sand.
Yeah, and they were like, woo.
I thought the beach was over here.
Yeah, and then they all got fucking killed. And then these people with their myths, scientific information, survived.
There's a guy who was hiking in Russia when the most recent tsunami hit, and he was on a cliff, and you see the ocean come in and like reach the top of the cliff where his dog is. See if you can find it. It's crazy because he films the thing coming in. Like, this guy is way above the ocean when it starts. And then the water is reaching where he is with his dog.
It's just further testament to the power of nature. And we just constantly underestimate nature. And
that was just a little wiggle in the ocean. Mm-hmm. That's just a little wiggle. Just a little earthquake. Little 8-pointer.
And then you think about some of the shit that's gone on during our time on Earth.
Comet impacts and like, watch this. So look how high this guy is, right?
He's way up.
Way up, right? And so as he's up here, he's seeing the waves come in. Now, he must have known that this was going to happen because everybody knew this was going to happen. So watch how it's coming in now. And now it keeps coming. It keeps coming all the way to the top where he is. It's nuts. Look at his dog.
Oh, shit.
His dog's like, yo. I would be freaking out. I would be running.
Yeah, I'd be out there,
wouldn't,
mate.
I wouldn't trust it. What if it goes over the top where you're at? You're just guessing. Bro, look how high this water gets.
That's terrifying. Yeah, he's out of there
Look
now.
at that. The dog's about to get jacked. I mean, if you get trapped in that, like, the bitch, you are not swimming to shore. That's your life. It's over. I don't care if you're Laird Hamilton. Well, he might swim through that. But isn't that nuts?
Yeah, you're fucked.
That water got all the way to the top of that hill.
That's
So, and
terrifying.
that is like, doesn't even register in the news.
Yeah, that's
as
just a
like-
thing that
yeah.
happens all the time.
That's a thing that happens. It's just like a thing. Like, no big deal. No one will remember that in 5 years. No one will remember that in 10 years. But if a fucking comet slams into the ocean right there, or slams into a glacier, a comet the size of, a few city blocks, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
That's a wrap. You have massive flooding, like instantaneous millions of gallons of water tearing through the landscape. No more ice cap. It's all gone.
Yeah, and just any kind of culture that was possibly around is just completely wiped clean from the earth.
Yeah,
And no
you're-
record, nothing.
You're Dunsville. There's nothing left. And that's real. This isn't speculation. Like that, we look at the Tunguska impact, and that was the same sort of comet storm that we passed through.
Yeah.
At the same time of year, and it flattened like this enormous chunk of Siberia that still doesn't have trees on it.
Yeah. And that's quite a small thing.
Yeah. And
that-
it didn't even hit his
Yeah,
air
airburst.
impact.
Yeah.
So
And if that had happened over a city, that's like millions dead.
millions. So that could be happening on this planet on a regular basis.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of facts that we get hit by stuff.
Yeah, we're always finding a crater. We're like, oh, this one's 3 million years old. Look
Yeah.
at this fucking crater.
Yeah.
3 million years ago, everyone's fucked.
But if that estimate is correct, that we're hit by a cataclysmic impact once every 100,000 years, then, I mean, what does that mean?
Well, that's where it gets really weird if you're talking about like an advanced civilization, like, millions of years ago. Like, imagine if there was some sort of an advanced life form millions of years ago, and then something like that hits.
Have you seen that wheel that's like 300 million years old, or it's like a preserve? It looks just like a wheel. Have you seen?
What is that?
Jamie, could you please search 300 million year old wheel? It will probably.
Are you
come
on
up.
TikTok a lot? Like, where are you getting this one?
I've just seen it about, and like it looks
Really?
like a wheel. It doesn't mean it is a wheel, but it looks remarkably.
Well,
like
there's
a
some of
wheel.
the stuff from.
Yeah, that's the thing. It just kind of looks like a wheel, and they found it in a mine, and then they flooded the mine, which is a bit weird. But there's a couple better images of it. I don't know if they'll be on this page, but yeah, there you go. That looks like spokes and a wheel. They're not. I mean, could be natural, but I mean, what the fuck is that?
That looks really weird. Now, what are these fossilized tracks?
Yeah, these are also super old. They're called cart ruts.
Again, found in Turkey,
Yeah.
right? Including Sofka, where they, like how I said that, where they cover an area approximately 45 by 10 miles. And how do you say that one? There's a lot of words today we don't know how to say. Cappadocia,
Yeah.
home to several clusters of tracks. The discovery of these ruts around the world has sparked debate regarding their purpose, age, and origins in Malta, especially due to the proximity of the tracks to megalithic structures and the fact that some are now submerged beneath the sea.
Yeah, I've seen some of them in Malta. I went to Malta,
Whoa.
and they go off cliffs.
Many researchers suggest these fossilized lines indicate significant antiquity. So if this was like mud that they were pulling these things through, or dirt that they were pulling these things through, and then it eventually fossilized into tracks, like, what else would be the explanation for something that looks exactly like tracks? Is there a natural explanation for those kind of formations?
I don't see anyone providing.
No one has an
No,
idea?
I mean, I didn't really know about the ones on Malta because I went there and kind of researched it. But those ones, they don't dispute. They're definitely man-made. They just
Well, hold on. They're definitely man-made, because listen to what this says. I first saw tracks in stone, fossilized car or terrain vehicle traces, usually called cart ruts, on Neogen plantation surfaces, Penepline in Phrygian,
Phrygian, I think?
Phrygian plain in May of 2014. They were situated in the field of development of middle and late, how do you say that? Miocene tuffs and tuffites. And according to age analysis of nearby volcanic rocks, had middle Miocene age of 12 to 14 million years.
Yeah, so this is Turkey, not Malta. But again, you've got these cart ruts that look like, some sort of track, and it's millions of years old, and then you find that wheel nearby.
That's fucking crazy.
And you're like, what is this?
I will look at what this says. Koltepin holds, the region that Dr. Koltepin has studied is relatively obscure, with guidebooks offering little to no information about it, while mainstream researchers argue that the tracks are merely petrified remnants of old cart ruts left by wheeled vehicles pulled by donkeys or camels. Koltepin holds a different perspective. Rejecting these conventional explanations, he stated firmly, "I will never accept it. I will always remember many other inhabitants of our planet wiped from our history." His research suggested a deeper, perhaps forgotten history of Earth and its past civilizations. Like, what?
Because if it's back to the Silurian hypothesis, if it was millions of years ago, how would we wouldn't know?
You imagine millions of years ago, people had the wheel.
Or something. Might not be people.
Something, whatever they were, was pulling things on wheels.
Yeah.
And they had cart ruts in the ground. So maybe they didn't have... This is fucking crazy. Koltepin theorizes that the civilization responsible for driving these heavy vehicles likely built the numerous identical roads, ruts, and underground complexes scattered across the Mediterranean region more than 12 million years ago. He acknowledges that petrification can occur relatively quickly, but points to the heavy mineral deposits on the tracks and signs of erosion as evidence of a much older timeline. He also connects these tracks to surrounding underground cities, irrigation systems, and wells, which he believes are millions of years old.
Yes, that's like Derinkuyu. So what if Derinkuyu is millions of years old and these tracks are related to it?
This is so crazy. On his website, Koltepin wrote, I hope I'm not fucking his name up. "We are dealing with extremely tough, lithified, petrified sediments covered with a thick layer of weathering that takes millions of years to develop, full of multiple cracks with newly developed minerals in them, which could only emerge in periods of high tectonic activity." Whoa.
Pretty crazy, huh?
That's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. That's crazy, because I knew those cart ruts existed, but I didn't look into them. I didn't know what the timeline was. I didn't know that there's anybody that's even speculating. That thing looks like a fucking wheel.
And it's right in the same place. So you've got this fossilized wheel and these fossilized cart ruts from hundreds of millions of years ago.
The wheel was printed in a sandstone of the roof. Drifters tried to cut away the find with the pick hammers and try to take it out to the surface, but sandstone was so strong and firm, and having been afraid to damage a print, they have left it in place. At present, the mine is closed and access to the object is impossible. The equipment dismantled and the given layers are already flooded.
Yeah,
get in there. Why would you flood that?
I think it was something to do with I don't think it's like some conspiracy like hide the wheel, but I mean, maybe it would, but I think it's more just like the practice of what they were finished their mining thing and they found this wheel. They weren't going to excavate the wheel because they were like,
bro, if that's a real wheel, if someone can carve that out of there and realize, like, if scientists look at it, if they get a 3D scan of it and they go, okay, we have to completely rethink everything. If something had a wheel 12 million years ago...
300 million.
300... What?
Nuts.
Like, what are we talking about?
I mean, it would be like the Silurian hypothesis. It would be it wouldn't be human unless, you'd have to radically rewrite everything if that was human.
Right, but what does that mean then? Like, what are we talking about?
Just
like
different intelligence. Some other species.
So maybe there was something like us that lived like medieval humans.
Yeah,
that was
because
millions of years ago.
it's the same problems. Like we have, like if they're living on Earth, they're dealing with the same kind of physics. They, they have to move materials around. Like, why would you not come up with the same
Right.
kind of thing, like a wheel? Like, it's a simple invention.
That's what's interesting too, and we're always finding new dinosaurs. Like that's a common thing,
Yeah.
right? And if these were a type of human being or something similar to human beings that buried their dead,
Yeah,
what are we going to find? Like, what are we going to find after 12 million years?
nothing except for maybe a fossilized wheel.
Yeah, or these wheel tracks.
Yeah.
Well, like, what is the conventional explanation of these wheel tracks?
I don't know, but all I know about the ones in Malta, they definitely say they're man-made. I don't know about these ones in Turkey. I haven't really looked into it. But
Those are crazy.
I know.
And the
crazy.
fact that they go to underground structures,
Yeah,
help me.
I know. Well,
Like-
they're near the. I don't think they directly lead to like Derinkuyu or anything, but they're nearby. And then you start to think, what if Derinkuyu is like, to be fair, I think that's probably man-made, but it's stone, so.
Well, I'm sure it's man-made, but like what kind of man?
And it could have been man adapted. It could have
Right.
already been something there, and we kind of changed it.
That would be completely fucked if we found out there was another type of human that existed that did all that 12 million years ago.
Or it wouldn't even have to be a human. It could be any kind of
Right.
life. It's just intelligence.
Right, but there's no evidence that anything other than primates have been that capable of manipulating their environment other than primates, right?
I guess
and
so,
so
yeah.
when we also know that we're finding new ones all the time, right? This one that they found, I keep fucking it up, Homo juliens, is that it? And Antikythera?
Close. Antikythera.
Antikythera. I'm going to get that right. But I fucked this one up too, the Homo juliens. But this one was larger than us. It had a larger brain capacity. And they know that this was just published in December of 2024. So they know that they're constantly finding new branches of the human tree.
Yeah. And then you got Denisovans or Denisovans,
Mm-hmm.
however you pronounce that. And they just reclassified that Dragon Man skull as Denisovan, and that's a huge.
Yes. So Juluensis. Is that how you would say that? How
I've
would
never
you say
heard
that?
of this.
Yeah, because it's really new.
Yeah.
A new big-headed archaic humans. Bigger than us. With big-ass heads. And big brains.
Well, then you kind of get into the thing of like giants and stuff, and like, could giants have been real? And you
Seems like that's a giant.
Exactly, and there is giant primates that have been like confirmed, like Gigantopithecus or whatever it's called, and
Yeah.
then you have hobbit humans like Homo florensis, or I can't remember how you pronounce that. But so you have hobbit humans, you have giant primates. Why can't you have giant humans?
I think they did. I think that's why giants are always in the Bible. And I think this thing, how old is this fossil that they found of Juluensis? So this one existed alongside, I believe, alongside at least some versions of man. Does it say how old it is? 300,000 or million?
Million. So that would just overlap with us then.
300,000 years old?
Yeah.
Right. So, but here's the thing. They don't have a lot of this stuff. They don't have a lot of evidence of this creature. So, right. So they have, I believe it's one site. Is that correct? Is there one site where they found this?
It's partly on a very large skull found in China.
Yeah. So how many have they not found? That's the real problem with us and this whole fossil record thing, is that we're dealing with a very limited amount of information. It's very difficult to become information. It's very difficult to become evidence.
Especially when you get up to these. Again, it's the preservation problem.
Right.
We can't. When you get back this far, it's so hard to find stuff.
You should see what this thing looks like when they do like a 3D image of a depiction. First of all, they make it look super primitive. They cover it with hair and give it jack muscles. It looks like this freak. But whatever it is, it's way bigger than us. And it's a human, and it lived alongside us. So David and Goliath, it's right there.
And there's also I think it's called Meganthropus, which is.
Yeah, that's what it looked like, supposedly.
Holy
Meanwhile,
shit.
he probably had a
Well,
calculator.
They
and
make everything look
probably
like
had a cannon.
that. Everyone's stupid and walking around in.
Yeah, everyone's stupid. Everyone has a stick in their hand.
When I was looking up that wheel, I came across the London Hammer.
Oh, I've heard of that too,
about
but I
the
heard
London
that was solved.
I did not see. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I'll just go with that. It was found in 1936, I think, but the limestone around it is supposedly 100 million years old.
Oh shit! I never heard of this.
Yeah, someone had an
They
explanation
found
for
it in
that.
Texas, London, Texas, not England, just so.
Oh,
Yeah, someone had an explanation for that. I don't remember what it was.
I'm just looking over mysteries. A lot of people discussing it.
Why don't you look up London Hammer debunked?
Wouldn't someone want to debunk it?
I know they would, but I want to know if they're right. You know, I'm sure someone would want to.
There's lots of people saying it's real and fake, and there's just not a lot of explanation on how it was found in old limestone.
Okay, radiocarbon dating of the wooden handle and the geological analysis have largely debunked the idea of extreme antiquity. More details. The artifact. The London hammer is a metal hammerhead with a wooden handle found partially encased in a concretion, hard, compact mass of mineral matter. The claims some have interpreted the hammer's presence in the rock as evidence of advanced ancient civilizations or a young Earth, pointing to the seemingly anomalous placement of a modern-looking tool in ancient rock. Evidence against antiquity radiocarbon dating of the wooden handle has placed its origin within the historical period, not millions of years. Geological processes. The concretion itself is not necessarily ancient. This is what I had read. Minerals in solution can harden around objects dropped or left in cracks or on the surface of soluble rock, according to Gaia. Out-of-place artifacts. While the concept of out-of-place artifacts can be intriguing, the London hammer doesn't meet the criteria of being considered an out-of-place artifact, as its geological context and dating suggest a more recent origin. You know, one of the things that I always go to with Egypt is those really bizarre-looking things that almost look like a part of a machine. Like that wheel thing.
schist disc, I think. It's called.
It's something I don't remember what it's called. Some kind of a disc, but it looks like a part of something, like almost a fan. You're looking at that, like, okay, what is that thing doing? Is that a turbine? Is that in water? Does like something spin? Like, what is that?
Yeah,
the fact that that's real, that one drives me nuts.
It literally looks exactly like something.
I mean, that's
that
a
would
replicate,
be
right?
part of a machine.
Jamie.
Yeah. I mean, they found the pieces of it. I've seen someone they've cranked it up in water, and it can, like, displace water in a very unique way.
Yes.
I don't know if that's, the use of it, but that's
See if you can get an image of the actual one, not a recreation, because I think there's been some of them they've recreated it, because I think it's a very valuable thing. So when people are looking at it, I think a lot of times they're looking at recreations. But whatever it was, no one can figure it out, right? And it's carved out of stone. So how? What are you doing? What does that thing do? You know?
Yeah.
That thing looks like a part of a machine. It looks like a part. Like if, like you have some ancient machine and does a bunch of things. Like
it's a beer mixer.
Right.
But I mean, if you go with Brian Marescu, they had to mix that stuff up somehow.
That's true, actually, right? But it's probably
beer, but
it's probably just one of many different tools that were missing from back then. If that is just their stuff for making what they call beer. Brian Marescu is the guy who wrote The Immortality Key. I don't know if you ever read any of his stuff, but a lot of it is about ancient Greece and the Eleusinian mysteries.
Psychedelics again.
Yes,
Yeah.
psychedelics
I haven't read it,
again.
but yeah.
But a lot of it is, what we think of as beer and wine. All their stuff was laced.
Yeah.
It was all laced with ergot and a bunch of other stuff and different psychedelics that we haven't really identified yet.
Yeah, and they combine that with that kind of spirituality and everything.
And that's why they built the society that they built.
Yeah.
Which is the craziest thing about, our weirdo technological advanced society is disconnected from that because it's illegal.
Disconnected from the stars as well. Disconnected from
light pollution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're just all kind of rushing around in this really hectic life of just like, got to do this, got to do this, and just not sitting back and kind of appreciating. What was that?
This is from an unknown author on Reddit. That's when they put it on a drill.
So they made one of it and put it on a drill?
Yeah.
That's great if you have a drill.
I mean,
So we're assuming that the Egyptians had a drill. I'm assuming they had a drill.
They definitely. They have all
had a
those
drill.
drill holes, don't they? And they find all these cool
and people are like,
drills
that's normal.
yeah.
Well, I can explain that
And
away.
there's that spiral thing. I can't remember what it's called, but what's it called? The Chris Dunn did like a He put like a thread around it to show it was a spiral
Oh
groove.
yes. The
Can't remember what
groove
it's
of it.
called, but-
Yeah, and he also estimated the revolutions per minute
Yeah.
that it would take to do something like that.
Yeah.
So you're talking about something that like is going into extremely hard rock, and looks like it has some extremely hard tip that can cut that rock. Like, what is it made out of?
Yeah, that's it. That's
that.
it. And these are like serious people. These are engineers that are saying this kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
the problem is that, you know, archaeologists and Egyptologists are all a certain type of person that don't have the expertise in, like, you know, recognizing machined artifacts.
Also, they're dorks and
Yeah.
they don't connect with people because they're so arrogant and when the way they talk about these things that it freaks people out and it makes them not want to listen. This is, I think, the thing that frustrates them the most about alternative historians like Graham Hancock. He's really interesting.
Yeah.
He's compelling.
And
You
he's a
like
great
listening to him.
communicator as well.
Great communicator
Yeah.
and a wonderful guy, and people love him. And they go, "Oh, fuck that guy!
Fuck
He's
you."
a racist. He's
Exactly.
a this. He's a that."
And he's more popular than them as well.
Yes, that's what drives them nuts. But what it should be exciting to them because it's stimulating people's desire to know where we come from, and that's supposed to be your business. That's
Yeah.
supposed to be what you're into.
And all he's doing is asking questions and like putting forward I don't think Graham would ever claim to like be, you know, certain or to.
No.
He's just saying this could be possible, you know?
Yeah, he's got some ideas that I think are a big stretch. And then he's got some ideas that I think are dead on the head. But he will tell you that himself.
Yeah, exactly.
He will tell you that himself. He's just trying to figure this out.
And that's the position he always has come from.
Yes.
But they kind of see it and they're saying, how dare you claim that you have proof? And I don't think he's
And
ever said he's
such
got proof.
a nice and sensitive person that, like, this stuff really fucking hurts his feelings.
I can imagine, mate. It
You
must be
know?
hard.
And
must be
it's
hard.
not necessary. Everybody should be working together. They really should. And the academics, everyone knows that you had a limited amount of information before and there's more information now. Like, your students are not going to hate you if you say, listen, I wrote a whole book on this. This is so crazy, but I was so wrong.
They
And
would respect you more.
they would
Well,
probably
I would,
respect you
anyway.
more. Yeah. The thing about it is, like, that book is still out there, and academics like to point at each other and make fools of each other. They really love to do that. They really love to. I see them do it to each other on Twitter all the time. They'll dismiss someone's credentials and say his work is shit, and they're like, God, you're such bitches.
They're
It's like,
brutal. They're brutal to each
brutal.
other, let alone someone who's
to
you
each
know,
other. Yeah, like high school girls, like talking shit about each other in chat messages, you know? Or high school boys, they do the same thing.
Yeah.
But or fucking grown men do it, obviously. And these guys are just like that. But it's also, I think some of these guys are socially stunted because they spent so much time with their head in academia and their head in books that they don't realize that the rest of the world sees that behavior in a very transparent way. If you're acting like a bitch online and all you do is say mean things about people, you're not hiding what you are. Every reasonable person sees that and instantaneously knows what's going on. This is irrational behavior. You're calling people racist because they're questioning the timeline of human civilization based on evidence, based on really bizarre things that no one can explain, based on water erosion on rocks. Now you're racist? Like, what
It's
are you
just-
talking about?
It's just a way of, like, you know, shutting down the ideas. I
It's
think.
exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. But it's done by people that are socially stunted. And they don't understand that most normal, rational people who see them behave this way are never going to listen to them again. By doing this bitchy thing, you have discounted your own participation in any true, like, intellectual discourse, because everybody knows you're a bad faith actor now. You're a bad person. You're saying things because you're trying to shut down a conversation instead of saying, tell me what you did. How'd you get to this? So what is he saying? Water erosion. Whoa. Show me the water erosion. Well, fucking hell, that does look like water
Yeah.
erosion. Okay.
Maybe we should, like, reevaluate this.
Maybe we should bring you in to teach.
Yeah,
You know, like,
but
what
no.
are we doing? We're gatekeeping. We're gatekeeping information because it's protecting fragile egos of socially stunted people.
Yeah. And they've always, you know, they
Not to say they haven't done great things. 'Cause
exactly, they have done
and
great
they
things.
do deserve the credit for that. But we should give them amnesty for fucking up.
But no one, I mean, we wouldn't be able to talk about these things without, you know, mainstream, for one
I
of a better
know.
word,
But you
archaeologists.
imagine what Harry in the math department, when you've been shitting on his string theory, and now it finds, oh, look who's wrong about the timeline.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Mike, the fucking genius. Like shitting on each other and throwing coffee at each other. They're a bunch of animals. They're just like any other group of men, you know?
It's just a human thing, isn't it? We're all just humans. and
Sure.
That's just, you know, how
Chess
we work.
players cheat.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Like even genius ones.
And often, like, these people, this is like, you know, the thing that they've worked on and the kind of biggest success they've had in their lives.
Yes.
And they don't want that taken away.
They don't want it taken away, and they don't want to deal with those other academics who are going to stick it in their face.
Yeah.
40 years, Bob. 40 years you've been teaching lies. How's that feel? How about all those college kids that left with a real fucked up view of human history because of you, Bob?
Come on, Bob. Yeah, I mean,
Poor Bob.
Poor Bob.
was going to just like write a note and blow his brains out.
yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I hope that things are going to shift over time, and over the next few decades, we're going to see a big.
One funeral at a time.
I guess so. That is the Max Planck quote, isn't it? But I hope it doesn't have to take that long. And I wish people would shift their positions, man, because.
Well, again, I think new people coming in. It's like a lot of things, you know. New people come in, they have new ideas, and the old dinosaurs.
Yeah, but I think I don't know, our adherence to these ideas has kind of distorted our understanding of history and has kind of prevented us from looking for things because, you know, we assume that these things, oh shit, sorry.
No worries.
Almost unplugged the microphone.
That wheel is still freaking me out.
Yeah. It's crazy, huh?
It's crazy.
But we just don't look for these things.
Have you seen any of Jesse Michaels' stuff?
He's the kind of UAP kind of guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
I haven't really. I do kind of delve into that, but I don't like talk about it or anything, but
His latest one is
this to do with the
bananas.
mummy?
The tridactyl mummies in Peru,
Yeah, that's the one.
where they've done scans of them and they have a fully intact bone structure. Looks like an actual creature, fully
go on.
intact.
Tell
3
me about
feet,
that then.
3
What's-
toes, different shaped head than us. Whatever it is, like, and also 1,700 years old. Like, what is that?
So what's the like debunking of that?
Well, there's some of them that people have made that seem to be a complete fabrication. It seems to be some of them they've pieced together bones and created like a fake artifact and tried to sell it off. But then there's these other ones that were found that don't look like that at all. They look like they're huddled up. One of them has a fetus inside of it. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yes. Yeah. They and whatever these things are, show them the video when you see the scans of it. American Alchemy, Jesse Michaels, awesome show.
Yeah, he's cool, man. I watched his show on here. He's awesome.
Yeah. Michels.
And
There's
isn't there
no
also?
A.
I might have made this up, but isn't there also like depictions of this in kind of ancient?
Yes.
Yeah, is that true?
Yeah, ancient artwork, 3-fingered, 3-toed people with big heads.
Well, that's weird then.
Weird. When you see this thing looks exactly like these. This is it. This is an actual scan of this mummy. Look at the size of the head. Look at the shape of the head. Look at all the bones. Look at all the ribs, everything. That's fucking bananas.
That is
Now,
crazy.
Jamie, show him what it looks like before they scan it. So they found them encased in, I think it's dichotomous earth. Is that what it was?
But how old do they think these things are?
Some of them are 700 years old, and some of them are as old as 1,700 years old.
So not that old, though.
But look at that thing. So this thing,
That is ridiculous.
that seems to be an actual mummy of a real creature.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like,
Is that Jesse there?
No, yeah, Jesse's right there.
There
That's
he
him.
is, yeah.
Jesse is doing real journalism on this. This is it sounds crazy to everybody, including me, as it comes out of my mouth. But then when you look at that scan, not crazy anymore. That's one of a smaller one, but the bigger one with the big head, that one right there, that one's crazy. Like, what the fuck is that? If that was a person, you would run for the hills. With a head that shape, with 3 fingers and 3 toes. And the fact that they have artwork depicting these things that goes back.
Yeah, because if it's a fake, then how are they depicting it?
Right. What is this? Like, did they have look at the scans of the foot? Go back to that. this is crazy. It's almost it defies the possibility of it being fraudulent. It defies it. It's like, make that. You show me how you can make that, where you can scan it and you see the tissue and the ligaments and the tendons and the cartilage and the joints, and they're not human shaped.
Yeah, that's
but
pretty
they're in
crazy. I haven't really looked into this, but this is kind of nuts.
If these were real creatures that existed at one point in time alongside us, and they're just now finding them, now then you get into ultimate weirdness, because like, okay, what's the Nazca lines for? Because that's the same part of the world.
Yeah. And then there's other weird like artwork of kind of like things that look alien and in South America.
Well, there's one of the Nazca lines looks like a fucking spacesuit. Looks like a guy in a spacesuit. And also, like, why would you make artwork that you can only see from the sky?
Yeah, that's always puzzled me about that.
Weird.
So weird.
The same part of the world where you're finding these things.
Mm-hmm. And they're like perfectly done as well.
Yeah.
And they're perfect, like, lines and shapes and
weird
geometric
and they keep
drawings
finding new ones.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, it's very strange.
I mean, South America is just I think South America and Egypt/Turkey are the two kind of areas that are the most kind of mysterious, and like there's so much going on there that I think we haven't quite acknowledged how much mystery there is still left. And yeah, fascinating, especially when you throw this in. I mean, I haven't looked into this at all, but
crazy.
I'm gonna have to start watching Jesse's
like, what
shit.
is that?
Yeah, that's mad.
Now, what if they find out that's not a human at all?
Well, I mean, it doesn't look like a human.
No, right? Like, I mean, it could be.
I guess it's kind of
humanoid. It could be some
but
bizarre mutation, right? Like those ostrich feet people in Africa. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's possible that there's some weird mutation, and this is a bunch of people with big heads and 3 fingers and 3 toes. But it doesn't seem like it. Mm-hmm. It seems like something different. Also, what are you doing with 3 fingers? You're operating electronics only. Like, you ain't picking shit up. You can't do anything. You don't have opposable thumbs. The idea that you have something that looks like us that doesn't have opposable thumbs, like...
Yeah, that's like a big evolutionary kind of advantage. Yeah.
What is this thing doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Unless all you do is like put your hand on a machine and you control everything with telepathy, and you just control it by touching it.
Yeah,
and you don't need, maybe it gets to a point where we stop using our thumbs and they just fucking drift away. We only need a couple of digits.
So what is like Jesse's theories on what?
Oh, their fingers have an extra digit too.
What does that mean?
So you know how like your finger bends in a certain way. They have what is an extra phalange? What would you call it? An extra little. You have like 1, 2,
like
3 bones.
bend,
They have a fourth. Fourth bone, so you could type quicker with the 3 fingers. I don't fucking know, but it's like that's not us. That's something weird. The skull shape is weird, but it looks like a real thing.
Yeah, if that's real, that kind of changes everything.
Changes like everything. And you don't hear it in the New York Times. You're not seeing it in the New York Post. It's not in the Wall Street Journal. But they might have actually found a life form in mummified form that's not us. That looks a lot like these fucking aliens that people have been talking about since the beginning of time.
And why is no one talking about it except for Jesse?
I don't know, man. Look at that. Look at the X-rays of them. Look at, see how it has an extra little thing at the end?
That's like an incredible fake, if that's a fake.
That's not our fingers, man. That's a little extra joint. And it's not, the fingers aren't even, you would have to be like the freakiest long-fingered motherfucker that's ever lived to have fingers that long. Mm-hmm. Those are weird.
And yes,
that's not us. That's something different.
That's bizarre.
Very bizarre. Again, anybody who tells you that we know it all, they're full of shit. If that's real, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
If that's real, if that becomes mainstream, if this is from Jesse, and I hope it does, and they do genetic testing on this thing, and then someone figures out what it is, and it's got different chromosomes than us and different DNA than us, like, now what?
Yeah, exactly.
Now what?
And what are the chances we have got everything? Because these people seem to think that, we've got it all worked out now.
It's zero. The chances are zero.
It's never been the case. And we've always thought we've had it all worked out all the way through history. It's always like, oh, now we know the answers. And it's always, there's always a major paradigm shift around the corner.
Exactly.
So what's around the corner now?
Exactly.
Something like this, or the ancient civilization thing. Or
yeah.
both.
Well, it's so fun, though. It's really exciting. It's a really exciting time to find things out, because if this had emerged 50 years ago, 75 years ago. There's no Jesse Michaels. There's no YouTube. There's no podcast like this to talk about Jesse Michaels and send a bunch of people over to go watch it. More people know, the better. Let's look at this. This might be real. This is crazy.
And that's why it probably is coming out in this kind of day and age, because the internet's not been around for very long.
But why isn't MSNBC covering this? Why isn't CNN covering this? They should all be covering this. They should all be going, look at these scans that this YouTuber, Jesse Michaels, did. If this is true, this seems like something that's not a human being.
I know, it's just too...
Aliens are real.
This is from 2017. Someone had found just a hand.
Whoa.
It's obviously the same
Bizarre
hand.
three-fingered hand in 2017.
Yeah.
Mummified hand found in a tunnel in Peru.
It said these fingers had 6 bones in each finger.
Whoa.
Regular human bone has 3.
Whoa. Dude.
Mummified hand is made up of bone and skin, suggesting that it's not fake, unless it was somehow made using real bones, flesh, and skin. But how would you fake?
How would you do that a long time ago and then mummify it? Yeah. It's all so strange. And that part of the world, they've had stories about these kind of creatures forever. That's why they have all this artwork about them. Not only that, that is an exact replica. Like if you ever see the movie Moment of Contact, the James Fox movie, it's about an incident in Brazil in 1994, 96. The Varginha, Brazil incident, where there was a crashed UFO. These police officers went to go and see this crash. There was some sort of electrical storm. And then they found this creature that seemed to have been injured from the craft. The guy picks it up, takes it in his car. They bring it to a hospital. The hospital refuses to treat it. They bring it to another hospital. That hospital, they don't know what happened with the records or what happened, but they do know that the guy who carried it physically died of a horrible bacterial infection that they could not cure. They said it smelled like sulfur and it had 3 fingers and 3 toes. It looked like that thing. It had a long head. And this, whatever this creature was that is, mummified, it looks exactly like what these people were talking about from this UFO crash in Varginha, Brazil. Like it's the entire folklore of the town. They have a UFO when you enter into the town of Varginha. They have like this giant statue of a UFO.
Really?
Like there's still people alive to this day that live in that town that will tell you the story. And you can go across town, you can go here. They all have the same story. There's multiple UFOs in the sky. One of them crashed. They found 2 creatures. One of them was alive. They think one of them was dead. Whatever this crash site was, they bring in the movie Moment of Contact. They bring this police officer to the site and he starts weeping. Like if he's a liar, he's the greatest actor of all time. The guy starts freaking out when he starts telling the story of what he found in the 1990s. It like brings him back to that moment. The women who saw the being, they're like in their 40s now. They were little girls when they saw it. And they all have the same story.
And it matches
3-fingered, 3-toed, looked like that. Looked exactly like that.
Man, if I wasn't doing the ancient history thing, I'd love to talk about this stuff as well.
It might be the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I'd love to maybe make some, connection. But the thing is, I just don't want to give anyone more ammunition to come after me and shit. Like they'll call me a pseudo.
They're coming after you, buddy.
They're probably coming after me after today. Yeah,
they're
sure.
going to after all the nonsense that we've talked.
Probably.
But it's fun to talk nonsense, and this is definitely fun nonsense. But that body's not nonsense. The Varginha thing, I don't think is nonsense either.
Well, it's weird
it's
that
a really
they match
weird one.
the kind of stories
Exactly.
from however long ago match to the mummified bodies. That's weird.
Not just that, but biblical stories about creatures that are demons that smell like sulfur.
Yeah.
Right? If you're terrified of something and you think you've decided that it's a demon because it's actually an advanced life form from somewhere else and it smells like sulfur, like whatever they have that got on this guy's skin that gave him this horrible bacterial infection, it's all documented. The guy died. He was a young, healthy soldier, and he's dead within like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's not a coincidence.
They're giving him antibiotics. This is the 90s. This is not like the 1800s.
Yeah.
They're treating him with modern medicine, and he's fucked, and he dies.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and this is the guy that was carrying the alien? Are you fucking kidding me?
Mate, I need to look into this
And it
more.
smells like sulfur? and it looks exactly like a thing that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Where they have a real mummy of these things.
Yeah. And
See if you could just get an image, an artist depiction. So they had these kids describe what they saw, and they drew this 3-fingered, 3-toed little. It was like almost like a purple-looking thing.
do you think that's linked in any way to all this kind of mysterious stone construction we find in South America that no one can really explain? And here we go.
What is the image? The thing that was curled up in the ground. There's like a image. Yeah, that one. That one with the red eyes. No, yeah, that one. That's what it looked like. Somebody actually made a sculpture of that. Exactly what it looked like and gave it to us. We have it at the mothership.
But the thing is, if it was an alien, why would it look so human, if that makes sense? Or unless it came from this planet, I suppose.
Right. But does it look human?
Well,
Or
in
maybe
terms
that's
of,
just
like,
maybe that's a constant thing when you evolve from primates. And maybe there's a thing about the alien gray too that's always been like this archetype of what we eventually will become.
Well,
Go
kind
back-
of like the big, like skinny limbs.
Yeah,
big
so
head,
this is how those guys described it. This is how they described what it looked like. Man, that looks an awful lot like that creature.
Uh-huh.
The big eyes, the whole deal, the weird spindly body. That drawing right there where it's hunched over, the one to the right of your cursor, yeah, that's the one that's my favorite. Because it's like, what is it? 1996? Like, I don't know. I don't know what the hell that is. But what if it's real? And what if those things in Peru are exactly that thing? And what if, this thing has visited human beings multiple times in history?
So would you say it's from another planet? And
Who knows? It might be
Yeah.
from here. That's
that's what I think. Because if it's got the kind of similar kind of like primate form, then
it might look, if these things they're finding these mummified remains in Peru, clearly it was here. Why would we assume it's not from here?
yeah.
Like maybe we just have a really inaccurate timeline of life on this planet, and maybe some things went undersea, which sounds nuts. But then there's all these fucking videos of things coming out of the water.
That's where I would hide if I was trying to hide, or even,
Yeah. I mean, if you've mastered gravity to the point where you create like a bubble around everything you are and you travel through it without any resistance whatsoever, and they've clocked things going underwater that are going like 500 knots underwater. You have no idea how it does that.
Yeah, well, it's all kind of it's like this. I mean, you probably know more about this than me, but my only exposure to the kind of UAP thing was traditionally through. I'm a big fan of Blink 182, and there's Tom DeLonge.
I've had Tom DeLonge.
Yeah, you've had him on.
Yeah.
You've had Travis on as well. You
Yeah,
need to get
Travis is the
Mark
shit.
on. He's the third.
Yeah.
He's complete the set.
I love
But,
Travis.
I've always. I'm in a band.
Not that I don't love Tom either. I just thought he
Tom's
was crazy.
awesome.
I thought he was crazy when I had him on before, and now I'm like, damn, I think he might be onto something.
Well, he's so cool. He's
But
always
also-
been like an inspiration for me. Like I make music, and he's been a big inspiration for me. But he always got me into. He kind of got me into the UAP thing from a
He's
while
all
ago.
in.
Yeah.
He's all in. But I do have to say that if I was the government and I wanted to like spread a bunch of crazy stories about UFOs, I'd tell them to people like Tom.
I guess so. Yeah.
And I'd tell them to people like me. I mean, I think people do that on this podcast. I think some of the information that gets shared on this podcast is probably bullshit.
To kind
And
of
they-
like,
to hide
muddy the
things.
waters. Yeah.
And to prime people for disclosure.
Yeah.
I think if I was in charge and if I had done the Hal Puthoff thing, what Hal Puthoff was assigned to do? Where he was,
Yes.
so they gave him a numerical value for all these different things that would be positively influenced by disclosure and negatively influenced. And you assign a value 1 through 10 to like what's going to happen in religion, what's going to happen in politics, what's banking, all that stuff. And this was during the Bush administration. So Bush essentially said to Hal Puthoff, the Bush administration said, we have been working on a crash retrieval program. We have vehicles that are not from this world. We are not alone. If we release this information to the general public and disclose it, what will be the negative impact? What will be the positive impact? And is it overall positive or is it overall negative? And everyone, there was a bunch of different independent people that they assigned this task to. Everyone came up with much more on the negative than on the positive. So they decided to not disclose it. This is Hal Puthoff's story. I can't I can't tell you if it's true or not.
Yeah, but why
it
did they think it
seems-
was negative? Just because of like the shock,
The impact.
and,
The shock, the complete lack of any real faith in authority figures. Like, why would you listen to the president of the United States when there's fucking UFOs reading your mind and traveling instantaneously here from wherever they're from?
Yeah.
Like, all of our systems of power and control, they all go away because we don't. You're not in control anymore. Clearly, the aliens are in control. People would worship the aliens.
But do you think they're kind of like drip feeding us, and then at some point
Yes.
it would come out? But then isn't that going to happen anyway?
I don't think it's totally organized because I think most things in the government are not totally organized.
I guess
think
so.
there's a lot of chaos going on at all levels of the government. I really believe that. And to think that in this top secret UFO crash retrieval world, there's not a lot of
Yeah.
chaos.
Just
when there's
humans, isn't
chaos
it?
in
Yeah.
everything. There's chaos in the FBI. They're having problems. The CIA has its own problems. Every organization has great people and a bunch of clowns and a bunch of nutty people that don't want to lose their positions of power and these little struggles, inter-office bullshit in every organization with human beings. So for sure, that's the same thing with UFO disclosure.
Yeah.
And then I think there's also the problem with if there really is a crash retrieval program and it's been going on for a long time and it's been going on without congressional oversight, that means you've been lying and you've been misappropriating money and
Go to jail.
everybody's fucked.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to, like, you got to slowly trickle out the information and you got to mix it up with a whole lot of bullshit. Whole lot of nonsense and then fly some drones over people and see how they respond.
I
And,
remember that thing. There's something recently about that, wasn't
yeah,
there?
the New Jersey thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's giant drones over New Jersey, and then they try to find them with fighter jets. The lights would shut off, and they'd
Was that
take off.
What was the? What? How did they?
Who fucking knows?
They just brush over that.
yeah, they say, "Oh, it's ours." Like, they didn't even tell us exactly what was going on, but it was almost like a national emergency. It was a national story. It was. I remember Trump saying that he was not going to go play golf in New Jersey because they were flying in New Jersey.
Was this pre-election? Was this before he became president?
I think
Was it Biden?
it was during. Was it during? Yes. I think it was
December, January-ish,
I think it was December.
late 2024.
I don't think he was the president yet.
No, he became president in January.
Right. But was it post-election? It was post-election, right?
I just can't remember. Is Mike Ben saying that this has happened a couple of years in a row, and they were waiting for it to happen this year. It did, and then he also predicted it would just disappear a few weeks later, and it did.
Yeah. Like, what was that? Maybe it's just a grand show that they put on for us to distract us from some other stuff. Maybe there's some banking fucking decisions that were going on at that time that we would have probably paid attention to.
Yeah, but like, look at the drones.
Yeah,
Or
no,
whatever.
that's a real thing.
Yeah, of course.
I would do that if I had some drones.
Or
I'd be like-
maybe-
if I was trying to pull off some shenanigans.
Couldn't it just be, like advanced weapons or technology that we have, or your government has that could?
Most certainly.
Because it doesn't have to be alien just for it to be like more advanced than like the kind of public knows about. If that
Most
makes
certainly.
sense.
Yeah, most certainly. I would imagine that a lot of what we're dealing with is advanced American military craft. And probably done through some top secret research that was real shady. Probably a lot of people spent a whole lot of money doing this stuff. And there's probably some, like, this is the people that have gone to S4 and talked about it. You can't, it's all anecdotal, so you never really know if they're telling the truth. But there's been people that have no reason to lie that say that they have technology that is 40, 50 years past anything that you can imagine right now.
Yeah.
And they already have it. And they've been spending shit piles of money making the wildest things your mind can ever conceive of. And they already have it. And it probably looks super alien when they take it out.
Yeah. I mean, why would they tell us what the most advanced thing they have is? They wouldn't. That's not going to be public information, is it?
Exactly. So even current history is confusing.
Yeah.
So the idea of you knowing exactly what happened 5,000 years ago, shut up, bitch. You don't know.
Exactly.
You definitely don't know if you find a 12 million year old wheel. Like
300 million year old. It's all too nuts. Yeah, exactly. We don't know what's going on now, so how could we know what's going on?
so the
Way
wheel
back
was
then.
300 million years, but the
Well,
car
allegedly.
tracks.
The cart tracks are what, 12 million years?
I don't know. That's what this guy says anyway.
Listen, it's all fun. It's all fun, and it's very interesting, and I'm really glad you're out there because I have binge watched your show. You do a great job. It's really informative and interesting and speculative and fascinating because I just love the subject, and I think you just do a great job. So I hope you get a lot of views and you keep doing it. And I'm happy that you're doing it. And I'm really happy that you came here.
Well, thank you, Joe. I mean, it's been a great honor to be here, to be out in Austin. I've loved it. It's incredible. What an experience. And yeah, it's been really fun talking to you. And I'm super appreciative of the opportunity. Yeah. So thanks so much.
My pleasure. So tell everybody how to find you, social media stuff.
Just put my name in. I'm Michael Button, and I'm on YouTube, I guess, and they'll probably find me if I'm doing my job correctly. That's me on the screen.
Michael Button 1.
Michael Button 1, yeah. There's someone else
YouTube.
out there who's got my name, apparently.
Yeah, so don't go to Michael Button on
fuck
YouTube.
that guy,
go to
man.
Michael Button 1. That seems so silly.
Yeah. Fuck the other Michael Button.
Yeah,
Come to me.
Well, maybe he's a nice guy.
Yeah, sure. He's got a cool name.
He's got your name. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks
Joe.
for being here. Bye, everybody.